Chapter 1226, The Title of the Lord of the Race. The complete sacred spear of Longinus. The ordinary people in his territory were now comparable to some weaker high-level bloodline life forms under the enhancement of many lord talents, racial divine artifacts, titles, special buildings, and so on. If it was a peerless talent in the territory, even the three races, the original spirit race, the shepherd's god race, and the chaos god's race, could compete with each other at the same level. There was even a high chance of winning. For example, living beings with master god tier potential. Even in the original spirit race, there were very few of them. However, in his Blazing Sun Empire, there were already many generals, heroes, and god spirits with potential that had reached the level of true god tier, or even master god tier. And potential generally meant that one had strength that far exceeded those of the same level. Therefore, to other lords, defeating a pure-blooded dragon was a difficult requirement. However, to the top potential subjects under him, it was completely possible. When I get back, I'll see how many pure-blooded dragons I can summon every day. Then I'll immediately start nurturing holy dragon knights. With the reincarnation sacred palace, I should be able to nurture a large number of holy dragon knights in a short period of time. When I increase the number of holy dragon knights to about 10 billion, I'll dare to fight those high-level divine kingdom lords. Zhou thought to himself when the time came. The only thing that he feared and didn't dare to attack was probably the legendary overlord-level lord faction in the myriad worlds. He put away his thoughts of floating. Zhou began to check the rewards for becoming the first lord of the race. He first looked at the title of the only lord of the race in the first stage. Title name, Lord of the Race. Title grade, Unique. Title effect 1, Commanding all life. You are the Lord of the Race. You have obtained the fate level of Lord of the Race. You can give orders to any existence in your race. No matter how this order goes against the laws of humanity, the subject will accept it without conditions and carry it out firmly. Title effect 3 - locked. Title effect 3 - locked. Title effect 4 - locked. Title effect 5 - unlocked. Title description. Only subjects who are the first to unify all the lords of the race in the Lord of the Race event can obtain this title. Those who have this title are destined to be the lords of the race. Zhou fell into deep thought after reading it. The first effect of this title was actually not very effective on him. Zhou had the lord talent of the peaceful times after all. As long as all the humans on Cerulean planet were in his territory, he would achieve the same effect sooner or later. What he cared about was that this title had 5 title effects. Now that the first stage had been unlocked, did that mean that there were a total of 5 stages in the Lord of the Races event? This thought only flashed through his mind. He didn't think too much about it, and looked at the only Lord of the Race treasure chest. He opened the treasure chest, and saw a broken blood-red steel fork lying quietly in the treasure chest of the only Lord of the Race. Surprise flashed across Zhou's eyes. He didn't even need to look at the item's information to know at a glance that the blood-colored steel fork was the last part of the sacred spear of Longinus, which was the part that held the first part, the sacred spear of Longinus. I didn't expect it to be gathered so quickly. You're much easier to gather than the Xianyuan divine sword. Zhou sighed. Then, without any hesitation, he took out most of the sacred spear of Longinus from the king's treasure box. What needed to be mentioned here was that because the Supreme Will restricted the transfer of resources between the two worlds, Zhou's king's treasure box and other spatial equipment were also sealed along with his arrival on the Cerulean planet. Most of the treasures, equipment, divine artifacts, and potions could not be taken out to be used. They could only use some of the resources within a limited range and special quality divine artifacts. For example, race divine artifacts, Xianyuan divine sword, sacred spear of Longinus, lucky star, book of life, chaos Dao sacrificial cauldron. They were all divine artifacts of special quality. Even so, as a race divine artifact, they had to occupy many resource units before they could bring it back. For example, the Xianyuan divine sword required a total of 1 billion units of black iron tier resources to be brought from the high continent to the cerulean planet. Even though the incomplete sacred spear of Longinus was an incomplete racial divine artifact, it still required 500 million units of black iron tier resources to be brought back to the cerulean planet from the high continent. As for true God tier divine artifacts and master God tier divine artifacts, there was no way to bring them back. Therefore, in order to be able to use the master God tier divine artifacts on cerulean planet, Zhou specially placed some of the master God tier divine artifacts and true God tier divine artifacts that he and his clone were used to using on the Eternal Mothership. He let Bai Yun and the others pilot the Eternal Mothership and bring them back together. This way, he could avoid the rules and use Master God tier divine artifacts and other high-level resources and treasures. Speaking of which, after Zhou took out 2 pieces of the sacred spear of Longinus, he slowly fused them together. Just like the previous fusion, the fusion this time was quite perfect. Soon, it fused into a completely blood-red steel fork, until the moment they fused perfectly. An accident happened. Boom! A golden-red pillar of light suddenly erupted from the sacred spear of Longinus. It soared into the sky and shot straight towards the starry sky. Unparalleled blood energy, slaughter energy, and holy light energy filled the pillar of light. Its light illuminated the heavens, and everyone who saw it was dumbfounded. Zhou's expression changed slightly. He never expected that the sacred spear of Longinus, which had just been completed, would cause such a huge commotion. He had wanted to develop it in a low-key manner. Zhou quickly activated the king and used the chaotic sacred power that was infinitely close to the Master God tier to forcefully suppress the sacred spear of Longinus' racial divine artifact phenomenon. Gradually, the light it emitted was suppressed and finally disappeared completely. Zhou did not feel happy at all. This was because he knew that the flash of light had already exposed his location. He took a deep breath and looked at the complete information on the sacred spear of Longinus' race divine artifact. He was instantly stunned. Race divine artifact name: Longinus sacred spear. Equipment grade: unique in the race divine artifact ability 1 infinite piercing spear. The sacred spear of Longinus can pierce through any matter in life without any damage. Race divine artifact ability 2, God-slaying bloodstained spear. The sacred spear of Longinus is a god-slaying demon spear. It has a special effect on gods and can break through the defense of any god spirit's divine body. Even a supreme god realm expert will be injured by this spear, and the other party will be stained with blood on the spear. Race divine artifact ability 3, Sacred Spear of Longinus. The sacred spear of Longinus is the spear of light and destruction of demons. As long as the enemy's body is tainted with demonic aura, the sacred spear of Longinus can ignore the difference in strength. It will definitely stab or even assassinate the other party. Even if the other party is in existence at the level of will, it can be destroyed by this spear. Introduction to Race Divine Artifact. The Longinus Divine Spear, a divine artifact of the human race on Cerulean planet. It is a mortal's heaven-defying spear. Even a supreme existence high in the sky can be stabbed or even assassinated by a mortal with the Longinus Divine Spear. Even a will-level existence can be stabbed or even assassinated. So you're a law-type divine artifact? Zhou muttered to himself. Chapter 12:27 Arrangements. Zhou looked at the sacred spear of Longinus in his hand and could not help but sigh. He had never seen what a supreme divine artifact was like. However, he felt that even a killing-type supreme divine artifact paled in comparison to the absolute damage laws of the sacred spear of Longinus. Getting you is better than getting a supreme divine artifact. Zhou stroked the sacred spear of Longinus, his heart filled with joy. This sacred spear of Longinus could be used together with the Xianyuan divine sword and the regal sage Dao sword as common weapons for he and his clones. Even if he grew to a higher level in the future, these enhanceable divine artifacts could still accompany him and be used by him. At this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. This feeling of danger was like knowing that someone was holding a gun to the back of his head. If he moved slightly, he would be shot without hesitation. Therefore, the hair on his back stood on end. I knew that this trip back to the cerulean planet wouldn't be peaceful. It's probably those race factions and scarlet factions that sent Divine Kingdom Lord factions, high-level bloodline factions, or scarlet factions to find trouble with me. Otherwise, it wouldn't have given me such a strong sense of danger. The Supreme Will is really too much. I'm the most outstanding lord of all races under him after all. Why didn't he set some rules to protect the lords of all races during this event? Zhou complained in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. However, he had a trump card in hand, so he wasn't too nervous. Zhou fight, order the entire army to get ready. In a while, we will leave this place with cerulean planet, and let the enemies who want to ambush us miss. Zhou ordered Zhou fight. Fortunately, he wasn't within the range of the transfer slots. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to bring his clone to cerulean planet. Sure. Zhou fight immediately went to do it. 0. In a while, I'll put the cerulean planet and the entire solar system into my Divine Kingdom world. You're in charge of upgrading the technology of the cerulean planet in the Divine Kingdom world. It's best to set up a top-notch planetary defense system for the cerulean planet. It's best if it can defend against attacks at the Master God tier level. Zhou gave another order to 0. Yes, Your Majesty. 0 said. When Zhou saw this, he immediately opened a Divine Kingdom passageway and prepared to absorb the cerulean planet into his Divine Kingdom world. His mid-tier deity-level intermediate-grade Divine Kingdom world was comparable to the middle world of a top true God tier. Accommodating a cerulean planet was as simple as throwing a grain of sand into the Pacific Ocean. However, an accident soon happened. This was because when he was absorbing the cerulean planet into his Divine Kingdom, a faint pure white light appeared around the cerulean planet. The pure white light blocked Zhou's chaos holy power and easily resisted the attraction of the Divine Kingdom world, allowing the cerulean planet to operate naturally on its planetary orbit as stable as Mount Tai. Surprise flashed across Zhou's eyes. Is this light the Supreme Will stopping me? As expected, a line of text appeared in front of Zhou. Hint for the Lord of the Race event. During the Lord of the Race event, it is strictly prohibited to move the Lord's territory into other worlds to avoid the activities of the Lord of the Race and the attacks of other hostile forces. Zhou frowned slightly. So that was the reason. No wonder the Supreme Will stopped me. Well, if a lord of all races like him kept his territory in a world-class treasure and hid himself in an extremely remote and hidden place as an old silver coin, then if he was lucky, he could really escape the activity of the Lord of Races this time. The universe was so big after all. If he really wanted to hide, it would not be easy to find him without using some special methods. Never mind. At most, I'll just let my clone teleport with the cerulean planet. Zhou did not take it to heart. Few things in the myriad worlds could stump him with his current abilities. He was just leaving with a planet to he. It was a piece of cake. At this moment, Zhou Fight's voice sounded in Zhou's mind. Main body, I'll take the cerulean planet away now. They're getting closer and closer to us. Alright, you can leave. I'll play with them. Zhou smiled faintly. Sure. Zhou Fight was naturally not worried about Zhou. In terms of how much he valued life, even if the clones were added together, they were still inferior to their main bodies. The cerulean planet, on the happiness peak, which was the highest peak on the cerulean planet, and it was also the holy land in the hearts of countless climbers. At this moment, there was no one around except for Zhou Fight. After he finished speaking to Zhou, he half knelt on the ground and touched the ground. Then with a thought swoosh, the entire cerulean planet suddenly disappeared. Then, the entire solar system was teleported away by Zhou Fight. He did this because he was afraid of destroying the living environment on the cerulean planet. Otherwise, if he departed with the cerulean planet alone, he might lose the transit environment of the solar system, causing the ecological environment of the cerulean planet to be unbalanced. If he was not careful, it might very well cause a calamity to the cerulean planet. Even though Zhou was not afraid of this, it was better to avoid it if possible. Only Zhou was departed floating in the starry sky as the entire solar system disappeared. After losing the solar system, this place had become much emptier. However, Zhou did not mind. Instead, he gazed at the other two suns in the sky. The two suns, one big and one small, emitted scorching flames and terrifying energy. These two stars had combined with the sun of the solar system to roast the cerulean planet. If General Zhou hadn't moved the entire solar system, including the cerulean planet would have become a dead celestial body before long. Zhou gazed at the two suns, and then at the surrounding stars. He sighed. This is indeed not the original universe of the cerulean planet. According to the hint given to me by the cosmic map, this place should be in a super-large boundless universe. It's a active universe, specially created by the Supreme will for this occurrence to facilitate the lords of all races to compete here. For this event, the Supreme will not only created this active universe, but also transferred the territory of the lords of the myriad races from the myriad worlds to this place. How generous! For this reason, when Zhou Fight moved the entire solar system, he did not move out of this active universe. Instead, he planned to move to a star field about 100 million light-years away. Even though this way, he could not guarantee that those top races would not be able to find the cerulean planet. However, it was not a problem to drag it out for a while. At this moment, 3 more sounds resounded through the myriad worlds. Congratulations to the True Spirit Star's original spirit race, True Lord. You have successfully united all the lords of the original spirit race on True Spirit Star, and obtained the right to rule the territory of the original spirit race on True Spirit Star. You are rewarded with the first stage's standard, the title of Lord of the Race, and the first stage's Lord of the Race treasure chest. Congratulations, True Spirit Star's original spirit race, True Lord, for successfully unifying. Congratulations, True Spirit Star's original spirit race, True Lord, for successfully unifying. Zhou raised his eyebrows. This speed was fast enough. He could be so fast because he had relied on his immense strength to forcefully unify all the lords of Cerulean Planet in an instant. This true lord wasn't as strong as him, and he had unified all the other lords of the original spirit race on True Spirit Star. It was probably the upper echelons of the race behind him. Chapter 1228. The Spiritual Venerable Lord. The Gap in Rewards. Zhou sympathized with the original spirit race lords on the same planet as the true lord. In the face of powerful races, they did not even have the chance to fight the true lord head-on. They could only give up their status as lords and sacrifice their families for everyone. Not long after the true lord received the reward from the lord of the race, the lord announcement of the other top races also came one after another, as if they were competing. Congratulations to the Chaos God's race Lord of the Chaos Sea's Golden Crow Domain Great One. You have successfully unified all the Chaos God's race lords in the Chaos Sea's Golden Crow Domain, and obtained the right to rule the race territory of the Chaos Sea's Golden Crow Domain. You are rewarded with the first stage's standard, the title of Lord of the Race, and the first stage's Lord of the Race treasure chest. Congratulations to the Chaos Sea's Golden Crow Domain's Chaos God's race, Great One Lord for successfully unifying. Congratulations to the Chaos Sea's Golden Crow Domain's Chaos God's race, Great One Lord for successfully unifying. Congratulations to the Godly King Planet's Shepherd's God race, Heaven Chasing Lord. You have successfully united all the Shepherd's God race lords on the Godly King Planet. You have obtained the right to rule the Godly King Planet. You are rewarded with the first stage's standard, the title of Lord of the Race, and the first stage's Lord of the Race treasure chest. Congratulations, Godly King Planet's Shepherd's God race, Heaven Chasing Lord, for successfully unifying. Congratulations, Godly King Planet's Shepherd's God race, Heaven Chasing Lord, for successfully unifying. Congratulations to the Spiritual Venerable Lord of the Myriad Spirit race of the Heaven Spirit Kingdom, for successfully unifying all the lords of the Myriad Spirit race in the Heaven Spirit Kingdom, and obtaining the rule of the Heaven Spirit Kingdom. Reward. The first stage's standard, the title of Lord of the Race, and the first stage's Lord of the Race treasure chest. Congratulations to the spiritual venerable lord of the heaven spirit kingdom's myriad spirit race for successfully uniting. Congratulations to the spiritual venerable lord of the heaven spirit kingdom's myriad spirit race for successfully uniting. As Zhou listened to the announcements on the All Races channel, he felt bored and decided to open the Lord channel to watch. In the Lord announcement channel, all the lords were discussing the Lord announcement. Psychic race, true Lord Xuanzhen. The spiritual venerable lord of the 10,000 spirit race is indeed powerful. In my opinion, other than your excellency common people's regal, and the 3 major clans, the spiritual venerable lord should be second only to them. He can be ranked 5th. Black Dragon Black Emperor Lord. If it weren't for the fact that our extreme venerable lord was unlucky enough to meet your excellency the common people's regal at the previous event, and was eliminated early, how could a mere myriad spirit race lord show off on the announcement? Yellow Gold Sacred Dragon Race, Lord Dragon Emperor. Don't worry, I'll be the next to become the first lord of all races. I Amethyst Behemoth Clan, Lord Amon. I'll eat you if you continue yapping away. Yellow Gold Sacred Dragon Race, Lord Dragon Emperor at Amethyst Behemoth Clan. Lord Amon, do you dare to fight with me? Amethyst Behemoth Clan Lord Amon. Hee, what's there to be afraid of? I've never eaten the flesh of a yellow gold sacred dragon race before. One troublemaker ghost, Lord Qianqian fight. Fight! Broken Star Race, Broken God Lord. Your Excellency common people's regal is awesome. Zhou saw the comments he liked, and closed the Lord channel in satisfaction. At this moment, the announcement of the Dragon Emperor's unification also resounded in the hearts of all the lords. Zhou listened to the Lord announcement and pondered. As the dragon race with the purest bloodline and the highest status among the dragon race, the golden sacred dragon was known as the dragon god's professional family. Almost all the leaders of the dragon race in the past had been from the yellow gold sacred dragon race. At the same time, he was the only dragon that could naturally give birth to a legendary dragon. The yellow gold sacred dragon possessed many legendary legends, even among the dragons. In the early stages of the Lord of All Races competition, the yellow gold sacred dragon race had yet to usher in a strong period, so their reputation could not suppress Extreme Dragon. Now that the Lord of All Races has entered the stage of war, the Dragon Emperor has gradually risen. In the future, as long as the Dragon Emperor Lord doesn't die, it will definitely be in the top 10 of the 10 races. The dragon race has a successor even after Extreme Dragon, Zhou thought. He did not doubt the yellow gold sacred dragon's development potential at all. He just did not know if his original dragon abyss could summon the yellow gold sacred dragon. It would be great if he could summon it. The dragon god army, led by the yellow gold sacred dragon, could claim to be a direct descendant of the dragon race in the myriad worlds. Their diplomatic relations with the dragon race should also improve rapidly. Then, he thought of something, and opened the spiritual venerable lord's channel to send a message. Cerulean Planet, Lord of the Blazing Sun. Oh right, what is your reward for the Lord of the race? Zhou asked directly. The spiritual venerable lord seemed to be shocked by Zhou's words. Don't you know how to be tactful when you ask such a secret? However, when he thought of the title of the only lord of the race that the other party had obtained, and the reward of the only lord of the race, he immediately wilted. There was no need to be tactful when he had something better. He suddenly felt that his reward was a little boring. He did not hide it anymore, and directly sent a message to Zhou. Myriad Spirit Race, Spiritual Venerable Lord, Standard, Lord of the Race Treasure Chest. The reward is a low-tier deity-level elementary grade divine artifact. As for the title effect of Standard, Lord of the Race, Your Excellency can directly see it. Title name, Lord of the Race, Title quality, Standard. Title effect 1. You have finally ascended to the throne of the Lord of the Race after a fierce competition between lords. You can issue an order to any existence in your race. As long as the order is reasonable, the other party will immediately carry it out without any hesitation. If you issue an unreasonable order, there is a small probability that the other party will not follow your order, and a very small probability that they will directly defect. Tidal effect 2 dash, locked. Tidal effect 3 dash, locked. Tidal effect 4 dash, locked. Tidal effect 5 dash, unlocked. Title description. Only subjects who are the first to unify all the lords of the race in the Lord of the Race event can obtain this title. Those who have this title are destined to be the lords of the race. Zhou blinked. Good God! Was the reward between the only lord of the race and the standard lord of the race so different? One was directly rewarded a racial divine artifact. The other reward was a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade divine artifact. There was no need to talk about the title of Lord of the Race. There was no need to talk about the fate of a Lord of the Race compared to his title. The most ridiculous thing was that not only would the other party not listen to unreasonable orders, there was even a very small chance that they would defect. At this moment, the spiritual Venerable Lord sent a message. Myriad Spirit Race. Spiritual Venerable Lord. Your Excellency, what is the only reward for the Lord of the Race? Can you tell me? Cerulean Planet Human Race, Lord of the Blazing Sun. Are you sure you want to know? The spiritual Venerable Lord was stunned. What did that mean? Could it be that the other party's reward was much better than his? He couldn't possibly be rewarded with true God-tier divine artifacts, right? Myriad Spirit Race, Spiritual Venerable Lord. Your Excellency, just say it. I can take it. Zhou didn't say much when he saw this. He directly told the other party that the treasure chest rewarded him with a race divine artifact, and the title effect was directly sent to the other party. And then, the spiritual Venerable Lord fell silent. Zhou could not help but mutter. What did I tell you? At this moment, a hair-raising feeling suddenly alarmed him. However, he didn't look flustered on the surface. Instead, he calmly looked up at the starry sky. In the starry sky, more than 30 god spirits emitting terrifying pressure appeared. They were teleporting towards him at high frequency. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in the cosmos not far from Zhou. Chapter 1229 The Fate-Rebelling Master God-Tier God Spirit, Aloysius. The 33 Master God-Tier God Spirits stood far away, staring at him with undisguised malice. Any life form, even an ordinary Master God-Tier, would probably tremble in fear when faced with this scene. However, Zhou didn't panic at all. Instead, he teased. Everyone is already in existence that stands at the peak of the myriad worlds. To think that you would actually attack collectively for a small lord of a myriad race like me. Looks like this emperor's life is really quite important to some people of foreign races. The 33 Master God-Tiers of the people of foreign races looked at Zhou in surprise. They never expected that this guy would still be so calm, even when they were already in front of him. He did not look afraid at all. Thinking that this guy had the battle record of defeating a fake Master God-Tier, these Master God-Tiers immediately became a little cautious. They even began to observe their surroundings, wanting to see if there were any ambushes nearby. This scene made the 7-colored robed Master God-Tier leader furious. When Zhou saw this scene, he was stunned for a moment before laughing out loud. Was his reputation now so great that a single sentence from him could scare them so much that they did not dare to make a move easily? Not bad, not bad. It seemed that his fearless behavior had finally made his name in the myriad worlds. Seeing Zhou laugh, the 7-colored robed Master God-Tier finally could not hold it in any longer. What are you afraid of? The other party has only one person here, but we have more than 30 supremacies. Even if he is as strong as the 10 Master God-Tier levels, he might not be our match. Look at how timid you are. Do you still look like a Master God? He said angrily through telepathy. Only then did the Master God-Tiers come back to their senses. They could not help but smile awkwardly. They were able to become Master God-Tier, so they were not idiots or rash gods. Seeing Zhou's fearless look, they naturally subconsciously felt that Zhou had a trump card that was enough to protect him, and even kill him. That was why they had such a performance. This was their experience since they were weak. Generally speaking, they would not lie to them. But now they felt that their pretending to be smart might be hindering them at times. It was already not bad for a mere lord of a myriad race to have a secret technique that could temporarily allow him to have the combat power of a master god tier. How could he let the other party have another trump card to deal with more than 30 of them at the same time? That was too heaven-defying. If he missed the opportunity to become a supreme god realm because of a moment of cowardice, they would regret it greatly later. They looked at Zhou fiercely at the thought of this. Being too arrogant will be your epitaph in the future. A master god tier said coldly. Many enemies have said similar things to this emperor, Zhou said indifferently. But this emperor has never lost, and they have become the souls of my army. You're actually the main body. The rainbow-robed master god tier looked at Zhou, and a glint flashed across his eyes. What? He is the main body? I thought he was a clone that was left here, seeing how arrogant he was. Your main body still dares to be so arrogant with us. You've never died, right? If we kill your main body, it will save us a lot of trouble. When the master god tiers saw that Zhou had actually come in his true form, their attitudes changed one after another. It was as if they were determined to capture Zhou at all costs. When Zhou saw them in this state, he still had a smile on his face, but a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Whether or not you have the ability to take my life will depend on you, Zhou asked. Whether or not you have the ability to take my life will depend on you. He swept his gaze over, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. The fate-rebelling master god tier god spirit Aloysius. All the races said that you died in the last calamity of fate. I didn't expect you to still be alive, he said. The divine body of the rainbow-robed expert trembled slightly. When the other master god tiers behind, heard Zhou's words, they immediately widened their eyes and looked at Aloysius. Many master god tiers even avoided as if they were looking at a plague, afraid that they would be tainted by any trace of him. Aloysius? It's you. The original spirit race actually dares to take you in as their master god tier? Aren't they afraid of being devoured by the laws of fate? The original spirit race actually dares to take you in as their master god tier? Aren't they fearful of being devoured by the laws of fate? The original spirit race probably protected him. Among the myriad races in the world, only the 3 races of the original spirit race have the ability to protect the god spirit in the hands of the supreme god realm. Get away from him. I don't want to be cursed by fate. All the master god tier looked at Aloysius fearfully. The rainbow-robed powerhouse was silent for a few seconds. Then he took off the rainbow-colored robe that was draped over his body, revealing his face that was filled with hideous scars and his empty eyes. How do you know it's mine? Aloysius asked in a low voice. I was fortunate enough to witness your heroic act of rebelling against fate from the bloodline inheritance of some seniors. Even though you lost badly in the end, once you lose your life, your fate is over. Zhou sized him up and clicked his tongue in wonder. Your master god tier possession body is not bad. Did the original spirit race provide it to you? Aloysius fell silent. At this moment, he was even a little afraid. 1323 at this moment. He was even a little afraid. Who is this common people's regal? He actually managed to see through him, with a single glance? I can see the revelation of my fate from you. Aloysius fell silent for a long time before saying, as long as I kill you, I can achieve my destiny and reach a higher level. Zhou nodded slightly. He was now the center of attention of all races. The providence gathered on him could be described as world-shaking. Even the supreme god realm might not be as lucky as him. If a deity who walked the path of the law of fate, or the law of providence killed him, it was indeed possible to use this to reach the supreme god realm. Aloysius was the master god tier of the laws of fate. If he could slay him, there was indeed a high chance that he would become stronger. Unfortunately, it's a good idea, but your revelation of destiny should be wrong. This emperor won't die. On the other hand, you guys have to be careful. It's best if you scram now. Zhou said. Arrogant. You must die today. Aloysius' eyes turned ruthless. Then he waved his hand. Everyone attack. Kill the common people's regal. We all have the chance to become supreme god realm experts in the future. He did not say that all the Master God tier present might become Supreme God Realm Venerables because of this battle. Would he have the chance to slay Zhou? However, even though it was only a chance, it was enough for all the Master God tier present. Kill. The chance to become a Supreme God Realm is right in front of us. Common people's regal. You've already obtained too much fame. It's not in disgrace to perish in our hands. Give up resisting obediently and surrender. Since you're going to die, why squander your energy? Zhou watched quietly as they released all kinds of Master God tier law skills and charged at him. Their expressions were calm, and there was no fear at all. As the Master God tiers attacked, they were also observing Zhou. They had never underestimated this common people's regal, with astonishing battle results. They knew that since the other party dared to stay here, he definitely had a trump card. They knew that since the other party dared to stay here, he definitely had a trump card. What was this guy doing? Why didn't he resist? Why did he just stand there? Was he taking the move to die? But in the next second, a jade-green figure and a silver-white figure suddenly appeared in front of Zhou. Chapter 12:33-10 Master God Tier God Spirits. Alocia's Fate Trap. As soon as these two existences appeared, an incomparably terrifying divine might suddenly erupted. In the face of the terrifying divine might of these two existences, more than half of the 33 Lord Gods actually could not stabilize their divine bodies at this moment. Although the other half of the Master God tier relied on their tyrannical strength to not be disturbed, they also revealed shocked expressions. They looked at the nomological attacks that they had released. The 33 Master God tier nomological attacks descended at the same time. Then, the emerald green figure flipped his hand, and an emerald green tree the size of a palm appeared in his palm. Right on the heels of that, an emerald green light that was filled with vitality quickly spread out from this small tree. These lights were like willow branches that intertwined and tangled together. Soon, they formed an emerald green light shield that stood in front of him, and Zhou. And the silver-white figure beside him also made a move. He raised his silver mechanical hand and quickly entered a series of silver codes in the air in front of him. Command, Tower Shield Defense. Command, Energy Buffer. Command, Energy Absorption. Command, Energy Conversion. Command, Invalidate Damage. Swoosh. Almost in an instant, a huge golden tower shield phantom appeared around Zhou, the goddess of life and zero. The attack of the 33 Master God tiers instantly landed on the golden tower shield phantom. Then, something that left the gods dumbfounded happened. The joint attack that Aloysius and the other Master God tiers regarded as a sure kill attack was actually absorbed by more than half when it landed on the surface of the golden tower shield. The remaining half of the attack was easily neutralized when it landed on the emerald green light shield. After receiving the joint attack of these 33 Master God tiers, the two of them actually didn't seem to have consumed much energy. They even had the time to nod at each other. When the 33 Master God tiers saw this, they were immediately stunned. Zhou looked at the two people in front of him and smiled. Then, he nodded slightly and politely said, "Greetings, Goddess of Life. Your Excellency Tritus." "Greetings, Machina God. Your Excellency Zero." "Greetings, Your Excellency Common People's Regal." Tritus and Mechanical God Zero also greeted Zhou politely. Even though Zhou's main body was only at the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade, he had the combat power of a Master God tier. Coupled with the fact that the other party was a Lord Nomological God Spirit, who had become a Regal, and had a chance of becoming a Supreme God Realm, or even a Supreme Will Realm in the future, the two Master God tiers did not treat Zhou as a junior. Instead, they treated him as an equal. On the other side, when Aloysius and the other Master God tiers heard Zhou call out the names of these two Master God tiers, they were immediately shocked. Goddess of Life Tritus? And the most mysterious Machina God Zero? They're coming. They are actually protecting Zhou. Zhou can actually ask 2 of the 10 Master God tiers to protect him? When the Master God tiers saw that these 2 legendary Master God tiers were actually protecting Lord Zhou, they were all shocked. Zhou can actually ask 2 of the 10 Master God tiers to protect him? Even though they were both Master God tiers, any one of the 10 Master God tiers could be considered a legendary level God spirit after all. Some of them had never seen it in their entire lives. Unexpectedly, not only did he see them today, but he also saw 2 of them at once. They felt that it was ridiculous. It was just like when he was buying groceries on the streets and met a young hunk bargaining with a vendor by the roadside. The most ridiculous thing was that these 2 top 10 Master God tier existences were actually protecting Zhou. If this news were to spread, who knows how many life forms and God spirits would be shocked. The myriad races were already in a dilemma. Should they continue to support the powerful old era races, or the lords of the new era, with unlimited potential led by Zhou? Originally, most of the races and factions were afraid of powerful races and factions. No matter how famous Zhou was, they did not dare to give up their positions to join Zhou for the time being. However, if the news that 2 of the 10 Master God tier existences were supporting Zhou together spread, the balance of the myriad races in the world would probably be broken. It was broken because of the existence of Zhou, the lord of all races. They looked at each other and saw the shock and trance in each other's eyes. They were only here to assassinate Zhou. Why did it suddenly involve the balance of the myriad races? Fuck. He was in big trouble. At this moment, Aloysius was staring intently at Zhou. Even though the appearance of the goddess of life and the Master God tier had greatly exceeded his expectations, his intention to destroy Zhou remained unchanged. As long as he could destroy Zhou, he even had the confidence to advance to the Supreme God realm. So what if there were 2 Master God tiers? So what if they were 2 of the top 10 Master God tiers, and had the possibility of advancing to the Supreme God realm? Wasn't he someone who could be needed at will? Therefore, he immediately turned to the Master God tier and shouted, "Don't be afraid." So what if the Goddess of Life and the Master God tier are here? We have more than 30 Master God tiers. If we attack together, even if they are 2 of the 10 Master God tiers, they might not be able to withstand our attacks. After we kill Zhou, we won't fight the other party. The other party can't do anything to us. Don't forget the benefits of killing Zhou. Now even these 2 Master God tiers have appeared to protect Zhou. This is enough to prove how shocking the secrets of Zhou are. Do you really want to give up the secret on him? As soon as these words were spoken, the Master God tiers' expressions changed slightly, and their gazes toward Zhou gradually became filled with greed again. Aloysius was right. Looking at them just now, the 2 of them joined forces to guard and barely blocked their joint attack. If the 33 Master God tier attacked together, they might be able to defeat them and take Zhou's life. When the Goddess of Life saw this scene, she frowned slightly and her eyes turned cold. She was the Goddess of Life, best at creating life and also at destroying lives. The 33 Master God tier might not be able to do anything to her even if they attacked together. But she glanced at Zhou, afraid that he would not be able to take care of Zhou in the upcoming battle. The Master God tier did not say anything. He silently took out 4 Master God tier elementary grade mechanical guards from his mechanical space. Aloysius' confidence soared seeing how cautious these 2 Master God tiers were. The 10 Master God tiers? In the confront of a group fight, numbers meant advantage. Zhou, today, I will take your life. So what if there are 2 of the top 10 Master God tier existences? You'll still have to be careful when facing us, right? Aloysius laughed. 33 Master God tiers besieging 2 Master God tiers, and you're still so smug. Zhou gazed at him with disdain. No wonder you couldn't become a Supreme God Realm expert. You couldn't even enter the top 10 Master God tiers. That's all you have going for you. Aloysius felt slighted. You're saying this because you don't know how terrifying the 10 Master God tiers are. I don't blame you. You're also saying this because you don't know how terrifying I am. I don't blame you for that either. Zhou gazed at him with a faint smile. Aloysius didn't understand Zhou's words, but he didn't mind and voiced ferociously. Unless you can summon another 10 Master God tier level existences today, you can accept the fate of being my food for advancement. When Zhou heard this, he suddenly looked at him with a strange gaze. Then he voiced pitifully, "So this is the tribulation of fate. Aloysius, you should know something as the master god tier of fate, right? What? Don't open your mouth, or your words will become true." Zhou voiced seriously. Then, as his expression changed drastically, he shouted into the depths of the starry sky, "Your Excellency, Master God! How long are you going to watch the show? Ha 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 ha. We were discovered by the Regal." Under the astonished gazes of all the other Master God tiers, a tall and mighty god spirit wearing a yellow gold armor, and carrying a yellow gold bow, and a pair of yellow gold axes flew out of the sun, and landed in front of Zhou. Then, he turned his head and glanced at Aloysius. "Aloysius, I am the third Master God that you saw today. Congratulations. What you see is not the revelation of fate, but the trap of fate. You're going to fall," he voiced lightly. Chapter 1231 Killed in One Strike. Master God tier. Terence. How could it be him? All the Master God tier looked at this sacred and mighty figure bathed in the sunlight. For a moment, many Master God tier actually revealed looks of fear. Some Master God tier even wanted to turn around and escape. This was not their fault. This seemingly divine and holy Master God tier was really too famous. Most of the other 9 Master God tiers of the 10 Master Gods kept a low profile and rarely appeared in front of the life forms of the myriad worlds. However, this Master God tier was different. Not only did he frequently appear in the myriad worlds, he even directly or indirectly led many inter-universe wars that covered many universes. And it wasn't just 1 or 2, but dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of universes starting a war together. There were even many Master God tiers who had once been famous, because they had angered this unpredictable Master God tier. This Master God tier had mobilized his troops in anger. After that, not only had he killed the Master God tier, but even the races and worlds under their command had been tragically exterminated. Many top-notch bloodline races that were once prominent for a period of time were eliminated from the top-notch bloodline races because they had provoked the Master God tier Terence. Among the 10 Master God tiers, in terms of combat strength ranking and ferocious might ranking, this Master God tier was definitely at the top. Even a race like the original Spirit race was unwilling to easily form enmity with the Master God tier. "Your Excellency Terence." Aloysius looked at Terence, who had a cold expression on his face. For a moment, he felt his throat dry up. The madness and ambition from before instantly disappeared, as if they had been blown away by the wind. If the 30-odd Master God tiers were to combine their attacks, they might be able to suppress the Machina God tier and the Goddess of Life, 2 of the 10 Master God tier existences. However, if there was also a Master God tier, no, even if there was only this Master God tier, it would be very difficult for them to deal with him if they joined forces. This was the terrifying deterrence of the Master God tier. The main God tier God spirit that used war as its name and nomological path could be said to be the strongest among the 10 Master God tiers. Could this be the end of my fate? He muttered to himself. Terence shook his head when he saw Aloysius' expression. Then, he pulled out a pair of yellow gold axes from his back and raised them high behind him before throwing them out forcefully. The golden one-handed axe turned into a golden divine light that cut through the space along the way, forcefully cutting out a spatial passageway. It charged towards Aloysius with a shocking aura that seemed to tear the sky apart. Aloysius broke out in cold sweat when he saw this. An extremely terrifying sense of danger instantly swept through his body and mind, causing him to immediately retreat from his trance. If he couldn't dodge this axe, he would die. Almost instinctively, he immediately activated his life-saving law skill. His entire body turned into 99 golden lights of fate that shot in all directions. These 99 lights of fate illuminated the endless space-time. Wherever they passed, it was as if they had passed through space-time, making it impossible to know where they were going. This was Aloysius' most important life-saving law skill, Light of Fate. Lights are often symbolic, representing time, burning light and hope. These 99 lights of fate also represented Aloysius' 99 chances of survival. As long as one of the 99 lights of fate that could travel through time and space could not be extinguished, he could use it to be reborn. Even though using such a law skill would also greatly exhaust his origin, that didn't matter. The name of the Master God Tier was too famous. He was worried that any hesitation or reluctance from him would result in death. However, Terence sneered when he saw this scene. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The axe that he had thrown out suddenly split into 99 pieces and instantly flew towards the 99 lights of fate, destroying them all. Aloysius died before he could react. The Master God Tiers were instantly stunned when they saw this. Aloysius was the strongest among them, a genuine Master God Tier advanced grade God Spirit. This Master God Tier had actually killed an advanced grade Master God with just one strike? Then wouldn't killing them be as easy as killing rats? All the Master God Tier were terrified. This Master God Tier was indeed the most terrifying Master God among the 10 Master Gods. At the same time, Zhou was also stunned when he saw this scene. Killing a Master God Tier in one strike. Was this the combat power of the top 10 Master God Tiers, who were infinitely close to the Supreme God Realm? His gaze landed on Terence's pair of yellow gold axes. His gaze focused slightly, sensing the aura on them. Master God Tier Divine Artifact. Furthermore, it was a Master God Divine Artifact that was extremely compatible with Terence's laws of war. Then, he roughly sized up the other divine artifacts on Terence. He discovered that although the other divine artifacts didn't have Master God Tier divine artifacts, they were still a set of top-notch true God Tier divine artifacts. Zhou nodded inwardly. No wonder. Master God Tier Terence's strength was already ranked among the top 10 Master God Tiers. Coupled with an offensive Master God Tier divine artifact that could make he even more powerful. He had such terrifying combat power. It was indeed not a problem for him to be ranked first among the 10 Master God Tiers. Then, he became happy. The stronger the Master God Tier, the safer he would be. There was no reason for him to be unhappy. At this moment, Terence suddenly looked at His Excellency Zero and His Excellency Tritus, and a rough smile appeared on his face. Your Excellency Zero, Your Excellency Tritus, are you interested in charging into this group of Master God Tiers with me? The Goddess of Life looked at Terence in surprise. This group of Master God Tier no longer had any fighting spirit. Even if they did not fight, they could only flee in a sorry state. Why did Terence have to chase after them and kill them again? Others said that Terence was very cruel to his enemies. Sometimes he would even kill his enemies, just because of some thoughtless words. However, as one of the 10 Master God Tiers, the Goddess of Life still had a certain understanding of this guy. Other God spirits felt that he possessed been a boorish man who only knew how to fight and kill. However, he knew that the Master God Tier's motives were extremely strong. No matter what he did, he definitely had his reasons. Then what was Terence doing this time? Sure. At this moment Zero's voice sounded. The Goddess of Life glanced at Zero and nodded after a few seconds of silence. She smiled and said, "We really should teach them a lesson. Otherwise, we might have to appear for the Lord of the Blazing Sun many times in the future." Terence nodded. Then, the three of them turned into 3 streams of light and charged towards the 32 Master God Tiers without asking Zhou. When these Master God Tiers observed that these 3 people were in fact flying towards them, looking like they wished to kill them all, they promptly panicked. "Run! Why are you chasing after us? Master God Tiers, we were wrong. Please let us go." The Master God Tiers begged for mercy as they fled. "If I don't kill you, the Lord of the Blazing Sun will have endless troubles in the future. Don't blame us for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for choosing the wrong time to provoke someone you shouldn't have," Terence stated with a sinister smile. Chapter 1232. Killing Indiscriminately. Zhou kills the Master God Tier. He quickly rushed into the fleeing 32 Master God Tier. He held the yellow gold with both hands and killing wantonly among the Master God Tier God spirits. Every swing of the axe carried an incomparably terrifying law of war attack. Under the suppression of this terrifying law, a Master God Tier would definitely be injured. In less than 20 rounds, another Master God Tier died at the hands of the Master God Tier. Even though the performance of the Goddess of Life and the Machine God Tier was not as fierce as that of the Master God Tier, they were also quite eye-catching. The Goddess of Life held a small emerald green tree in her hand. As the tree branch brushed past, it reversed the power of the laws of life and drained the life force of the Master God Tiers, causing their divine bodies to weaken and their combat strength to decrease greatly. If it swept past again, these Master God Tiers would not be able to continue fighting. In less than a moment, a Master God Tier elementary grade God spirit was sucked dry by the Goddess of Life. Its divine spark collapsed and it died. And these hostile Master God Tiers did not even touch the skirt of the Goddess of Life. The performance of the Master God Tier was the most eye-catching. This was because the current Master God Tier had actually fused with the 4 mechanical guards that he had just summoned, forming a super huge Master God Tier. The mechanical Master God Tier, who had fused with 4 elementary grade mechanical guards, instantly became extremely terrifying. Although it was not as powerful as the Master God Tier, it was still much stronger than the Goddess of Life. On the battlefield of the Master God Tier, it was like a terrifying war machine. One was not at a disadvantage when facing the frontal attack of the 10 Exalt gods. It even relied on various technological weapons of civilization to suppress these Master God Tiers everywhere. In less than half an hour, it killed 2 Master God Tier existences. The 3 Master God Tier existences displayed their respective abilities, making Zhou unable to take his eyes off them and exclaim in satisfaction. At this moment, Zhou suddenly saw a Master God Tier elementary grade from the people of foreign races, emitting the aura of fallen nomological laws. He had actually used some nomological secret technique to silently leave the battlefield. It looked like he was about to escape from this Master God Tier battlefield. As for Master God Tier and the others, they were fighting with the other Master Gods and did not notice, or rather, they had already noticed, but they had no time to care about this fleeing Master God Tier. Their original intention was not to wipe them out. They just wanted to deal a heavy blow to the Master God Tiers of the people of foreign races, and let them know the consequences of attacking Zhou. Therefore, he did not care if a Master God Tier escaped. On the contrary, it was good that he had escaped. They could also help them spread the news that they were protecting the Lord of the Blazing Sun. It would save them the trouble of Master God Tier coming to find Zhou every day, and they wouldn't have to appear frequently. Zhou roughly knew what they were thinking. However, after pondering for a few seconds, he suddenly had an idea. Using him as a tiger to show off his might was ultimately not as powerful as he looked, and made the other lords fear him. He had to be more domineering in this battle. At the thought of this, he immediately activated King and allowed himself to enter the realm of a true God Tier advanced grade. Then, with a flip of his right hand, he saw the sacred spear of Longinus appear in his hand. He raised the holy spear high and leaned back slightly. He exerted strength in his right hand, and then activated all his strength as the power Heavenly Emperor. 1000% strength. Ah, damn it! Zhou roared at the sky. Terrifying power erupted from his body, transforming into black rippies that shattered the space around him. Furthermore, this shattered area was still rapidly spreading in all directions. This commotion immediately attracted the attention of the Master God Tier, and those Master Gods of the people of foreign races. Huh! Terence looked at the terrifying power that erupted from Zhou's body, and revealed a shocked expression. Then he smiled and said, Interesting. When Tritis, the Goddess of Life, saw the power that erupted from Zhou, her emerald green eyes flashed with surprise. Master God Tier 0 looked at Zhou. Countless silver data streams flashed across his eyes. Search complete. The Lost Regal Inheritance. Power Heavenly Emperor Inheritance. Then, his gaze landed on the sacred spear of Longinus in Zhou's hand. After scanning for a second, the silver data in Master God Tier 0's eyes seemed to have found some unreadable data. It actually became chaotic, causing he to freeze. When the 10 Master God Tier who were besieging Zero saw this opportunity, they naturally would not let it go. Immediately, divine light exploded in their eyes, and they activated their strongest law skills in unison to attack Zero. However, in the face of the data that he had lost control of, Zero chose to forcefully turn it off. Then, a new silver data stream appeared in his eyes. He activated the defensive command and calmly resisted the attacks of the 10 supremacies, as the system report echoed in his mind. The chaotic data flow has been blocked. The backup system has been activated. Taking over Divine Body 0. Taking over the Divine Body has been completed. Latest inspection report. The weapon in the hands of the common people's regal is a race divine artifact that surpasses the level of a Master God tier. It contains the upper limit of damage beyond the limit. When Zero saw the test report, he was shocked. On the surface, he remained calm as he dealt with the 10 Master God tier God spirits in front of him. At this moment, Zhou finally accumulated his strength. Then, he threw the sacred spear of Longinus with all his might like a javelin. Boom! Wherever the golden-red sacred spear of Longinus passed, space shattered as a black great Tao forcefully stabbed out. In the blink of an eye, it flew tens of millions of kilometers away, drawing a black and cold river in the starry sky. The Master God tier of the people of foreign races, who was emitting the aura of the fallen nomological laws, seemed to have sensed danger at this moment. He suddenly turned his head and saw the holy spear that was like the spear of the god of death attacking him. What? Sensing the terrifying threat from the sacred spear of Longinus, his pupils constricted. In his perception, this steel fork that emitted a golden red glow was like a supreme holy artifact that was born to restrain him. As long as he was stabbed, he would die. This thought appeared in his mind. He hurriedly used teleportation to escape. However, the sacred spear of Longinus also pierced through space and followed him closely. In less than 2 to 3 breaths, the sacred spear of Longinus flew behind him and directly pierced his divine body, destroying his divine spark and killing him in the starry sky. Zhou gave it a thought, and the sacred spear of Longinus and the corpse on it instantly disappeared. Then they appeared in front of him and were placed into his king's treasure box. Zhou looked calm on the surface. However, he was actually very emotional. He had actually killed a clan-protecting existence. In the myriad worlds, there were very few existences that him would fear. At the same time, when the other Master God tiers saw that Zhou had really killed a Master God with his true God tier advanced grade God, they could not help but be shocked. This fellow had actually grown again. Previously, when he destroyed the fake Master God tier existence, even though it was a little ridiculous, he could still be considered to have won at the same level. But now, not only had he killed a true Master God tier existence, but the other party had also killed a Master God tier as a true God tier advanced grade. The difference between a Master God tier and a true God tier was even greater than the difference between a Black Iron tier and a true God tier. The other party could even kill someone of a higher level. Was it really impossible to kill this common people's regal? They thought in disbelief, but at the same time, they no longer had any fighting spirit. More than an hour later, after most of the Master God tiers fled, the War Master God did not pursue them. Instead, they returned to Zhou. Thank you, Your Excellency, for helping this emperor out. I will definitely remember this favor. Zhou smiled. You're welcome. Just don't forget our conditions. The War Master God chuckled. The Machina God and the Master God tier of life nodded slightly. If one really have a way to help you advance to the Supreme God realm in the future, one will definitely do my best to help you advance. Zhou said seriously. Terrence and company nodded. Chapter 1233, Exchanging Master God tier Divine Artifacts. After hearing Zhou's promise, they were very satisfied. Weren't they helping Zhou because of this promise? As a regal, the other party's words were naturally credible. However, they also knew that promises were one thing, but whether they could do it was another. How rare was the opportunity to become a Supreme God realm expert. Even if the other party's talent was astonishing, he might not be able to obtain such an opportunity in his entire life. Terrence and the others also came to help Zhou with the intention of investing in the relationship. It was naturally the best to obtain the Supreme God Realm opportunity that Zhou had obtained. If they couldn't get it, they wouldn't lose anything. They had done this kind of investment countless times in the countless years they had lived. It was mainly to cast a wide net and gather more fish. After this battle, very few factions in the myriad races will dare to have designs on you. However, that doesn't make you invincible. They can't use their methods on the surface, but they have many hidden methods. Wisdom Master God Tier Top Earth suddenly said to Zhou, according to the people of Cerulean Planet, this Lord of all races competition is like a game of Go. However, it's not only the factors inside the chessboard that determine the outcome, but also the factors outside the chessboard. Oh, keep that in mind. Zhou nodded seriously. Top Earth nodded when he saw this. By the way, Lord of the Blazing Sun, War Master God Terrence, who was by the side, suddenly grinned and said, you should have a Lord talent that increases the probability of corpses dropping items, right? Right. Zhou did not hide anything and nodded. At this time, his Lord talent was already known by many races. Therefore, he wasn't surprised that War Master God knew. Then can I use these 4 Master God tier corpses to exchange for 4 Master God divine artifacts? The War Master God chuckled and brought out 4 Master God tier corpses. Oh yes. Each of these 4 Master God tier corpses has a true God tier. The War Master God specially reminded. Top Earth and Zero didn't say anything. They just silently took out 5 Master God tier corpses. 3 of them belonged to Master God tier 0, while the other 2 belonged to the Wisdom Master God tier Top Earth. Mine also has true God tier divine artifacts. Top Earth said. Mine too. Zero said. Zhou was speechless. Then he nodded awkwardly and said, alright, I can exchange. In fact, he was already overjoyed. This was a total of 9 main God tier corpses carrying true God tier divine artifacts. Not counting the other Master God tier level loots, just the Master Divine Artifacts, after the true God tier divine artifacts quality, plus one could obtain a total of 36 Master God tier divine artifacts with the enhancement of his spoils of war. He thought about the 36 Master God tier divine artifacts that he was about to obtain. Even with Zhou's mental fortitude, he could not help but feel excited. Compared to so many Master God tier divine artifacts, what was a mere 9 Master God tier divine artifacts worth? At the same time, after hearing Zhou agree, even though the War Master God did not say anything, a hint of shock flashed across his eyes. He had only heard some news, so he wanted to give it a try. He did not expect to get such an outcome. 4 Master God tier corpses represented a total of 4 Master God divine artifacts. The other party could even take it out? Top Earth and Zero were also shocked. Then, they couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Thankfully, they had agreed to Terrence's request and killed a few more Master God tiers with him. Otherwise, wouldn't they not have been able to obtain the Master God tier divine artifact in Zhou's hands? Change now. Terrence handed the 4 Master God tier corpses to Zhou without hesitation. When Zero and Top Earth saw this, they hurriedly handed the Master God tier corpse to Zhou. After Zhou received it, he immediately placed it into his king's treasure box. Then, he looked at the 3 Master God tiers and said, what position do you want to have as a Master Divine Artifact? Terrence, Top Earth, and Zero could not help but look at each other. He can even choose his own specific location? Shouldn't you be giving whatever Master God tier divine artifact you have? Or could it be that this fellow had already gathered all the Master Divine Artifacts in various locations? Give me a Master God tier armor. For the other 3, give me a Master God tier divine artifact that can strengthen divine sense attacks. As for the other 2 Master God tier divine artifacts, just don't give me any weapons. War Master God Terrence was the happiest. He didn't think too much about it. He only thought for a moment before stating his needs. Then, he looked at Zhou with a burning gaze. He already had a top-notch offensive Master God tier divine artifact. If he claimed to be second in terms of offense, no Master God would dare to claim to be first. Therefore, he didn't lack weapons. He lacked a Master God tier armor that could protect his life. If he had a Master God tier armor that could protect him from fighting wantonly without worrying about being injured, coupled with the top-notch Master God tier weapons he already had then, it would not be an exaggeration to say that his combat strength would immediately increase by more than 2 to 3 times. In addition, his mental attack was one of his strengths. Even among Master God tier, he was famous. That was why he wanted to strengthen this point. He didn't care about the other Master God tier divine artifacts. Facing the burning gaze of the War Master God Terrence, Zhou pondered for a few seconds before taking out a full-body armor that was colorful and engraved with all kinds of poisonous insects. Its overall shape was like a poisonous scorpion. Your Excellency, this is the Master God tier elementary grade armor, the Voodoo Divine Armor. He has the defensive power of a Master God tier elementary grade. At the same time, he can also attack your nomological laws with a kind of voodoo attack at the Master God tier elementary grade, causing the enemy to be poisoned while being attacked by your nomological laws. In the myriad worlds of the universe, only this Voodoo Divine Armor possesses this voodoo poison. Only you, who possesses the Voodoo Divine Armor, can detoxify it. In addition, the enemy who attacks you will too be forced to be infected with voodoo because of the recoil. When the voodoo poison acts up, it can be said to be devouring your heart. I believe that your enemies will definitely feel fear when they fight you inside the future. Just as Zhou finished his introduction, the Voodoo Divine Armor inside his hand was snatched away by Terrence. The other party looked at the Voodoo Divine Armor inside his hand as if it was a treasure. One of his hands touched the surface of the Divine Armor, and as he touched it, his expression became more and more infatuated. After a long time, he reluctantly retracted his gaze and turned to look at Zhou. Okay, this is indeed a Master God tier elementary grade armor. Even though the law of poison isn't my forte, it doesn't matter. Tisk. I didn't expect to really obtain a Master God tier armor. Ha ha ha. He raised his head and laughed wildly. Then he turned to look at the Wisdom Master God and the Machina Master God. Top Earth 0. Let's spar later. The Wisdom Master God's face darkened. This lunatic wanted to make an example of them as soon as he obtained the new Master God tier divine artifact. Chapter 1234 Wisdom Demon Crown. To Earth. Zhou also smiled secretly. This War Master God was also straightforward. He had at least politely addressed him as Your Excellency before obtaining the Master God tier divine artifact. As soon as he obtained the Master God tier divine artifact, he didn't even address him as Your Excellency and directly called him by his name. As expected of the most belligerent Master God tier among the 10 Master Gods, 0 was very quiet. It did not agree or deny Terrence's request. Zhou took out 3 more Master God tier divine artifacts. Your Excellency Terrence, this is the Master God tier elementary grade divine artifact Void Arrow that you want to strengthen your divine sense attack ability. The other 2 Master God tier divine artifacts are the Master God tier divine artifact Void Nether Ring and the Master God tier divine artifact Heavenly God's Wings. The War Master God's eyes lit up as he looked at the 3 Master God tier divine artifacts. After receiving them from Zhou, he immediately examined them carefully. After a while, he revealed a satisfied smile at Zhou. I'm very satisfied with these 4 true God tier divine artifacts. As expected of the Lord chosen by my mythical tier, the only Lord talent. You're such a surprise, Terrence said in satisfaction. He did not expect that he would be able to exchange for 4 Master God tier divine artifacts with just 1 attack. This was much more beneficial than he starting a cross-border war. For a moment, he even wanted to follow Zhou and use some legitimate methods to find an opportunity to obtain more Master God tier divine artifacts from him. However, after some thought, he gave up on this tempting idea. The 10 Master God tiers had special statuses. If not for Zhou's mythical tier unique lore talent, logically speaking, they wouldn't have appeared here to help Zhou defeat the enemy. Apart from the current situation of an enemy invasion, it was impossible for they to help Zhou in any other situation, let alone follow him and help he at any time. Even if they were Master God tiers, they couldn't do it even if they wanted to. the Supreme Will would not allow it. On the other side, Zhou also gave the Wisdom Master God and the Machina Master God their respective Master God tier divine artifacts. Zhou also gave the Wisdom Master God and the Machina Master God their respective Master God tier divine artifacts. Like the War Master God, the two of them only had one Master God tier divine artifact. The 5 Master God tier divine artifacts that Zhou had given them had indeed overturned their understanding. Thank you, Zero said. This is what your excellency deserves. Zhou smiled. Zero said nothing. If that's the case, we won't stay any longer. I hope that you can advance your Lord faction to a Divine Kingdom Lord faction as soon as possible. Only then will you be truly bound to us. The War Master God said meaningfully. Zhou was stunned. He sensed that there was a hidden meaning in the other party's words. But just as he was about to ask more, the War Master God stopped him with a look. You'll know when it's time to know. The War Master God smiled. Following that, he didn't say anything else. He summoned his golden divine chariot again and drove it into the depths of the cosmos. The Wisdom Master God and Machina Master God bade farewell to Zhou and left in their own ways. After the 2 Master Gods left, the smile on Zhou's face gradually faded. He looked calmly in the direction where the Wisdom Master God had left. After some thought, his divine body instantly disappeared from the spot. In the high continent Blazing Sun Empire, Imperial Capital Shrine World. On an empty golden throne. Swoosh. A figure appeared on the throne. It was Zhou. He flipped his right hand, and Bodhi Supreme appeared in his hand. Very cautious. The Bodhi Supreme teased as soon as it appeared. The Wisdom Master God didn't notice you, right? Zhou asked. Don't worry, Bodhi Supreme said confidently. Even though the Wisdom Master God is indeed very good at sensing this aspect, under my cover, he will definitely not discover the Wisdom Demon Crown I hid. Zhou nodded. Wisdom Demon Crown. This was a special treasure that he had obtained from Ji Yun. Later, Bodhi Supreme said that a portion of Top Birth's crazy soul was imprisoned in the Wisdom Demon Crown. And this portion of his crazy soul was related to a secret of Top Birth. In order to prevent himself from being noticed by the Wisdom Master God because of this Wisdom Demon Crown, Zhou had handed he over to Bodhi Supreme for safekeeping, and it had continued until now. That's good. Zhou nodded and asked curiously, what's the secret of Top Birth's crazy soul in the Wisdom Demon Crown? When it's time for you to know, you'll naturally know. Bodhi Supreme said. Zhou frowned. This again? He thought for a while and performed not ask further. He retracted the Bodhi Supreme and then teleported away from the throne. 12,000 light years away from the original location of Cerulean Planet. Zhou Fight had just teleported the entire solar system here. This is it. This will be our new base from now on. Immediate deployment. We must build a planet's defense system that can withstand Master God Tier's offensive in the shortest time possible. He said to Bai Yin and the others. Yes, Your Majesty. Bai Yin uttered respectfully. Zhou Fight nodded. At this moment, a figure transported in front of Zhou Fight. It was Zhou. Greetings, Your Majesty. Bai Yin hurriedly said respectfully when she saw the main body head over. Zhou nodded and said, next, this emperor will change our identities. Inform the soldiers under you to be prepared. In the future, when you go out to fight, don't reveal that we are the Blazing Sun Empire's army. Act with your new identities. Yes, Your Majesty. Bai Yin nodded, and immediately went to do this. Zhou's expression was solemn as he considered to himself. I want to use the second identity created by the Lord Talent, Twin Body. As soon as he finished speaking, a text notification appeared. Lord Talent notification. You have activated the identity of the Mortal Lord, Lord of Beginner Empire. Zhou gazed at his clothes. The Emperor Dragon robe he was wearing was currently emitting a faint black and white light. After a while, the light dissipated, and he saw a green bamboo-patterned Emperor robe appear on his body. Then, he gazed at the Regal Sage Dao sword at his waist. His Regal Sage Dao sword had also turned into a green Emperor sword. This green Emperor sword emitted a dense aura of the Law of Wood. It performed not look fake at all. However, Zhou knew that his nomological aura of wood was only a disguise. He was actually completely a regal nomological existence. If I wasn't in my original form and saw my current appearance, I would definitely think that I'm not the Lord of the Blazing Sun, but some other human lord. Even a Master God tier wouldn't be able to tell that my true form is the Lord of the Blazing Sun under my disguise. This twin lord talent is really terrifying when it comes to changing one's perception. Zhou sighed. Then, his eyes lit up as he muttered to himself in anticipation. With the twin body talent, Cerulean planet shouldn't be in danger for the time being. Moreover, the Cerulean planet is guarded by Zhou Fight and Zhou Marshall's clones. Time to go back to Earth and take a look. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated. He flew to Cerulean planet and went to Earth through the Gate of Summoning. Chapter 1235. Return to Earth. Earth in outer space. Zhou floated there and looked at the blue planet with a complicated expression. It was as if the surrounding satellites did not see Zhou at all. There was no reaction at all. Naturally, the countries on Earth did not discover this returnee, who had just returned from another world. After a long time, Earth and back, Zhou said as he looked at the planet he was most familiar with. Unfortunately, I didn't expect that when I returned, things would have changed. He looked at Earth. Unlike before he left, this place was already filled with traces of time. Many of the things that he was once familiar with were no longer on Earth. Or rather, they had already been updated. The current technological level on Earth was much higher than before he reincarnated on Cerulean planet. Is it already 2048 on Earth? He muttered to himself. After he reincarnated to Cerulean planet, 25 years passed. These 25 years did not affect Earth because he was a transmigrator. Instead, it allowed Earth to develop naturally for 25 years. 25 years was enough to change a lot of things, for example, technology, the people he loved, and the people who loved him. At the thought of this, Zhou took a step forward and disappeared into outer space. The next second, he appeared on the street of an ordinary town on Earth. The crowded streets that once represented simplicity, commonness and hustle and bustle had added many new technologies, brands, shops and tall buildings, but the familiar feeling had not changed. Sensing this familiar feeling, Zhou felt inexplicably relieved. A smile subconsciously appeared on his face. Following that, he strode towards his grandparents' residence. The pedestrians passing by did not seem to notice the existence that was completely different from them. They continued to walk on their own path, chatting and laughing with the people beside them. He did not see this wanderer, who was in a hurry to go home at all. In a new residential area, Zhou stood at the entrance of the neighborhood and looked at the newly built unfamiliar neighborhood. He raised his eyebrows slightly and calculated with his mind. The result made him heave a sigh of relief. His grandparents were still alive, but because of the development of the new district, they had moved to another place after receiving the demolition money. Zhou glanced at the newly built residential area before turning around and walking towards another residential area. The New Hope community. Zhou looked at the somewhat old neighborhood and entered. Then, according to his divination results, he walked to the second floor of Building 3 of Block 6 and quickly arrived at the door of the room. The common people's regal, who had always remained calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, and could suppress all the lord of all races in the world, and even exterminate them, suddenly felt nervous as he stood in front of his house. It was ridiculous. However, this was what it meant to be close to home. Zhou took a deep breath and scanned the room with his spiritual will. Then he saw his grandparents sleeping in the room. He was taken aback. Then, he pondered for a few seconds and walked through the door into the house. Then, he came to his grandparents' room and looked at the old couple. 20 years have passed, and the two elders looked even older, and there were more age spots on their faces. Moreover, one could see the weakness, fatigue, and illness on their faces. However, the two elders were already lucky enough. 20 years had passed, and the two elders were already in their 90s. In any country, in any historical period, Or even in this era where technology had greatly improved, he could be called a senior. Still, you've suffered all your lives. Now is the time to enjoy life. You have to stay with me for the rest of my life. Zhou smiled. Following that, he flicked his finger and saw 2 wisps of vitality appear out of thin air. Then, they landed in the 2 elders' bodies and began to nourish them silently. The fatigue and morbidity on the faces of the 2 elders, who were sleeping soundly, quietly dissipated. The redness on their faces unconsciously relaxed, and a smile naturally appeared on their faces. Zhou nodded to himself. The 2 auras of vitality that he had just released had an eternal characteristic. They would constantly release vitality, allowing the 2 elders to live forever. When in danger, these 2 vital energies would protect the 2 elders and send a message to him at the same time. This way, he would be at ease. As for strength or even becoming a god, it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. It could be done slowly. There's medical prosthesis in your bodies? Zhou suddenly realized this when he was using vitality to treat the 2 elders' bodies, and could not help but shake his head. Even though medical prosthetics can treat illnesses, they're still external objects after all. They can't be harmonious with the body. There's no problem with this thing for a short period of time. It can even make the body free of illnesses. However, over time, it might cause more illnesses. Perhaps future technology in a few hundred years might solve this problem. But medical chrome is still not very good now. At the thought of this, Zhou activated the chaotic sacred power and deprived the 2 elders of their prostheses. Then, he used the vitality energy to restore the place where the 2 elders had been replaced by the prostheses. Zhou flew straight into the sky after doing all this, and confirming that the 2 elders were fine. Through the mental divination, he divined the person who had taken care of the 2 elders over the years, and blessed them with longevity and health. He divined the people who had bullied the 2 elders over the years, and gave them the corresponding punishment, and then he split out a portion of his divine consciousness, and made it take on his appearance. From now on, you'll take care of my family on earth for me when I'm not around. When I come back, you can just return. Zhou said to his divine sense clone. The divine sense clone was different from the clone created by the doppelganger technique. The divine sense clone was completely a part of the main body. There was no difference between them at all. It was equivalent to a clone that the main body had sent out a thought. Zhou was naturally relieved to use it. Imu and Yurmi, they are our grandparents. The divine sense clone smiled. Zhou nodded. Then, the divine sense clone turned into a stream of light, and flew back to the town to reunite with his grandparents. Zhou began to look up the information of his ex-girlfriend. He discovered that his former girlfriend on Earth had become a rich woman. However, for some reason she was still single. She has become a little rich woman. This can be considered fulfilling her previous dream, right? Zhou could not help but laugh. Then, he looked at her, who was working hard in front of the computer, and his expression gradually turned gentle. It was hard for outsiders to imagine that the common people's regal, who could kill master god spirits with a single strike, could actually show such an expression now. Chapter 1236. Advancing to high-tier deity level intermediate grade. After a long time. I'll see her sometime, Zhou thought. He naturally wouldn't give up on his little girlfriend on Earth. This was because he could sense that even after 20 years, her love and longing for him had become deeper and more restrained, unknown to outsiders. It was the same for him. Zhou silently flicked out a trace of vitality and fused it into her body. The girl who was working in front of Arichi computer was stunned, and a surprised expression appeared on her face. Why is my body suddenly in such a good state? 11. I wasn't even this healthy when I was years old. Then, she looked at the sky and muttered to herself. Are you protecting me? I'm not giving up. I am still living a good life when you are not yet. It's just that sometimes I miss you very much. At this moment, the phone beside her suddenly rang. She looked over. When she saw the caller ID, her body trembled, as if she had been electrocuted. Then she immediately took it. Hey! Zhou closed his eyes in the sky while on the phone. After a long time, he reluctantly ended the call. A long separation makes the heart grow fonder. I have to hold a grand wedding for her in the future. Zhou smiled. Then, he flew into the cosmos again and looked down at the azure planet. His expression calmed down. This emperor has already become a regal. It's time for the earth to be renewed. Let's have a revival of spiritual energy. Zhou flipped his right hand, and a complete true God-tier elementary grade divine spark appeared in his hand. This complete divine spark emitted a rich aura of the law of life. It was clearly a true God-tier divine spark of the law of life. With the true God-tier divine spark of the law of life, as the core of Earth's spiritual energy recovery era, it should be able to cause a great evolution of life on Earth. Zhou said to himself with a smile. Then he threw this divine spark into Earth and the core. Zhou felt that Earth's promotion energy index had begun to increase rapidly. Soon, it had reached the point where a superhuman could be born. Grandpa, Grandma, and my girlfriend should be the ones who are most compatible with this true God-tier divine spark, with Arichi wisp of vitality I left for them. If I'm not wrong, the first batch of superhumans should be Grandpa, Grandma, and my girlfriend. Zhou thought. Then, he cast a law skill on Arichi entire Earth. This law skill was called the mind-calming spell. It was a true God-tier law skill. Its function was to calm the negative thoughts of life forms, such as killing, violence, fear, and so on. It also allowed life forms to enter a calm state as much as possible. Living beings who entered a calm state could maximize their potential and absorb the promotional energy in the air to become extraordinary as soon as possible. This way, not only could it minimize the killings caused by the recovery of spiritual energy, but it could also allow more extraordinary individuals to be born on Earth faster, allowing Earth to enter the extraordinary tier era. After doing all this, Zhou casually bestowed a gray stone tablet that reached the sky and landed on the Emperor Qin Mountain in Arichi country. This throne tablet recorded a series of cultivation techniques from the Qi Refinement Realm, Black Iron Tier, to the Ascension Realm, Legendary Tier. The cultivation techniques came from Arichi Human Qi Refinement Civilization. Zhou had kept it so that the humans on Earth would have ready-made cultivation techniques to cultivate after entering the Extraordinary Tier stage. It would save them the trouble of only relying on their physique to absorb it naturally. As for cultivation techniques at the true immortal realm, low-level deity tier, or above, Zhou temporarily didn't bestow them. However, he had left an ascension teleportation array on this sky-penetrating stone steel. Once a human on Earth advanced to the ascension realm, the sky-penetrating stone tablet would sense their existence and invite them to ascend to the Blazing Sun Empire on High Continent to become the worshipped god spirit of the Blazing Sun Empire. Once such a genius cultivator really appeared and ascended to his side, Zhou would naturally not treat him badly. After doing all this, Zhou sat cross-legged in space and quietly looked at the blue planet below. Gradually, a terrifying god spirit pressure arose from his body. Furthermore, the pressure of this god spirit pressure continued to increase. Thankfully, Zhou had diverted a portion of his consciousness to forcefully restrain the naturally overflowing divine pressure around his divine body. Otherwise, once the natural divine pressure landed on Earth, it could instantly destroy it. A moment later, the god spirit pressure on Zhou's body suddenly increased greatly. Mid-tier deity level advanced grade. He had actually broken through the bottleneck of the god spirit and entered the level of a mid-tier deity level advanced grade after he had done a series of things to Earth. This did not stop. After Zhou had just advanced to Arichi level of a mid-tier deity level advanced grade, his divine pressure was still increasing. Another half an hour passed. Boom. High-tier deity level elementary grade. It was as if Zhou did not feel his advancement. He was still looking at his mother planet that he had missed for many years. What was shocking was that even though the god spirit pressure on him had weakened a little, it was still steadily increasing. More than an hour later, boom, the 9-colored divine light on Zhou's body exploded again. Countless laws were hidden within, forming a huge divine kingdom starry sky like stars. He had officially entered the high-tier deity level intermediate grade. At this moment, the aura of advancement on Zhou body slowly weakened and disappeared. Finally, it completely returned to calm. At this moment, Zhou's divine spirit realm had officially stabilized at the high-tier deity level intermediate grade. Zhou came back to his senses after a while. He sensed his god spirit realm and revealed a smile. Then, he muttered to himself, I didn't expect that returning to my hometown would become my obsession. Now that my obsession has been completely resolved, my nomoiological comprehension is no longer flawed. It's precisely because of this that my divine spirit realm has soared greatly, directly rising from the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade to the high-tier deity level intermediate grade in one go. It has increased by a whole level. I'm only one high-tier deity level advance grade away from the true god tier realm. Zhou pondered. When he reached the true god tier, he would not need to borrow the power of Arichi Moon Demon or the power Heavenly Emperor, and should be able to directly raise his strength to the Master God tier level. In addition, there was the Moon Demon, the power Heavenly Emperor, and the Master God tier Divine Artifact. It was not impossible for the 10 Master God tiers to fight. Then, he took one last look at Earth before turning around and disappearing into the cosmos. In the galaxy where the cerulean planet was located. Not long after Zhou returned, he received a report from Wu Tuesday, reporting to Your Majesty, the information on the surrounding starfields has been explored. This is all the information. Wu Tu said respectfully, and then he turned on the projection and let Zhou watch. Zhou looked at it. The star domain they were in was called the Heron Star Domain. The entire star domain was more than 20,000 light-years in diameter. Even though it was located in a remote place, it was rich in resources and had many inhabited planets. It could be considered a secondary fertile star domain. The one ruling this star domain was a true god-tier existence called the Heron Star Lord. Let's take down Heron Star Lord first. Zhou's simple words decided the other party's fate. Yes, Your Majesty. Wu Tu replied respectfully. Chapter 1237 Current Situation of the Lord of Cerulean Planet. Blood Moon Sun. Event-exclusive Divine Artifact, the Universe Star Map. Zhou looked at the layout of the Heron Star Domain and finally nodded in satisfaction. The new place of survival and expansion that he had chosen was really not bad, be it in terms of resources or other aspects. It was much better than the original location of the solar system. Tell the soldiers to prepare. After the initial defense is completed, we'll prepare to go out and expand the territory of our mortal empire. Zhou said. He deliberately emphasized the words mortal empire. Yes, Your Majesty. Wu Tu immediately understood and said respectfully. Zhou nodded and looked at the next report. Then, he realized that this information was about the current situation of the human lords on Cerulean Planet. Currently there were more than 6 billion lords on the Cerulean Planet, and the lords who survived were basically all above the yellow gold tier. Moreover, most of the lords were under the command of various Cerulean Planet Lord Alliances and Lord Kingdoms. There were very few lone lords who did not belong to any lord faction. Even if there was after the unification of the race masters today, they basically no longer existed. All the lords of Cerulean Planet could be considered the subordinates of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. The only difference was whether it was enhanced by Zhou's lord talent. These few lords of Cerulean Planet who joined later were destined to not be able to enjoy the enhancement of his lord talent because they were not affiliated kingdoms or had not signed a master-servant territory contract. Zhou had no choice. Who asked them to arrive late? Since they liked to enjoy the freedom of a lone lord, they had to bear the benefits of not having the protection of a lord. The overlord of Cerulean Planet, who had been forcefully pulled over by him, was not qualified, nor could he enjoy the enhancement of his lord talent. Zhou did not care about such a small matter. Instead, his gaze landed on the total number of lords on Cerulean Planet. Are there only 6 billion lords left on the Cerulean Planet? Zhou sighed. He remembered that during the Novice Lord test, there were more than 8 billion lords on the Cerulean Planet. Unexpectedly, After a few activities, more than 5 billion lords of the cerulean planet had died. Only 2 billion were left. This must be the cruelty of the Lord of all races contest. Zhou sighed. However, he was not surprised by this number. He was a ruthless person who had wiped out an entire race after all. Compared to the extinction of some races, the Lord of Cerulean Planet was much better than the lords of other races because of him. If he had not traded a large number of goods in the marketplace to increase the strength of the lords on Cerulean Planet, the number of lords on Cerulean Planet would definitely be much fewer than today. He continued reading and accidentally saw the information sent by the Blood Moon Sun. According to the information, the Blood Moon Sun realized that after Yuzanda found out about Zhou's recent battle results, he finally realized the difference in strength between him and the common people's regal. He immediately calmed down. After calming down, Yuzanda finally decided to temporarily give up on the idea of revenge and return to the Titan Divine Domain to think about it at length. After the Blood Moon Sun discovered this matter, he naturally would not let this true god tier of the Titan gods off easily. His death back then was caused by the Titan god race. Even though Yuzanda was not the murderer, he had helped the murderer kill the Blood Moon Lord back then. It was impossible not to take revenge for such a blood feud. He had yet to recover his Master God tier realm, so he naturally could not kill the Master God of the Titan god race who had killed him. However, it wasn't a bad idea to collect some interest from this killer. Therefore, the Blood Moon Sun took advantage of the fact that Yuzanda had hurriedly returned to the Titan god race, and Heartless was paying attention to his surroundings to suddenly assassinate him. The battle between the two began. In the end, the Blood Moon Sun relied on the advantage of being the first to kill Yuzanda. Coupled with his Master God tier combat experience and Master God tier will, he successfully killed Yuzanda. At this point, Yuzanda and his son had both died. In this report, the Blood Moon Sun asked if he should publicize that he had killed Yuzanda. If he did not publicize it, the Titan God race might very well blame this on Zhou. If it was made public, the Titan God race would at most blame this on him. They would not even implicate the Blood Moon clan behind him. The Blood Moon clan had already pledged allegiance to Zhou, and the Blood Moon Sun had left the Blood Moon clan before the Blood Moon clan pledged allegiance to Zhou after all. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that there was a high probability that the two had nothing to do with each other. There was also a high probability that the Titan God race would not send troops from thousands of miles away to deal with Zhou by force. After Zhou saw this information, he pondered for a few seconds and suddenly had a new idea. He immediately contacted the Blood Moon Sun and told him that he didn't have to do anything. The outside world could suspect him however they wanted. Even if he was really blamed for this, he wasn't afraid. As for the Blood Moon Sun, Zhou persuaded him to come to the Blazing Sun Empire and become the Submaster God tier. As long as he agreed to him, Zhou was willing to provide him with all the restorative items to restore his Master God tier powers. He could even give him a Master God tier divine artifact. After sending these messages, a smile appeared on Zhou's face. With the existence of the Master God tier divine artifact, Zhou did not believe that the other party could resist such temptation. If the other party really agreed to come to his Blazing Sun Empire and become a quasi-Master God tier revered elder, Zhou would use a large amount of resources to restore the other party to the strength of a Master God tier. Then, his Blazing Sun Empire would have a true Master God tier revered elder. This offering was much more stable than the War Master God. At that time, he would equip the other party with a full set of Master Divine artifacts. The Blood Moon Sun, who was a low-level Master God tier, should not be afraid at all even if he faced an advanced grade Master God. Then his Blazing Sun Empire would truly be stable. He was not afraid of any threat for the time being. After Zhou finished reading the remaining information, he chatted with Wu Tu for a while before letting him leave. More than 3 hours later, under Zero's full-strength arrangements, a planet defense system that could withstand the attacks of a true god tier was officially completed. Next, he only needed to wait for the Eternal Mothership to descend and obtain the materials for the construction of the Master God Tier planet's defense system. Then, he could upgrade the planet's defense system on Cerulean planet from the True God Tier to the Master God Tier. At this moment, Zhou did not stop advancing at all. He immediately gathered the entire army and prepared to take down Heron Star Lord. The Heron Star Domain. The 5 supernovas were flying towards the Heron continent where the Heron Star Lord was. The Heron continent was a middle world level continent created by True God Tier. That was his base camp, and the Heron Empire was also on this continent as the leading star. In the command room, Zhou looked at the dark blue star map that was similar to the starry sky in front of him. This was the special divine artifact, the universe star map, that was specially awarded to him because he was favored by the supreme will. Divine artifact name: Universe star map. Grade of divine artifact. Event exclusive special. Divine artifact law. All factions in the exclusive universe, including but not limited to lords of all races, local lords, scarlet factions, cosmic organizations, mystic realm factions, will be marked in real time in the universe star map for the Lord of the Star Map to check their real-time location. Note: after the event ends, this universe star map would break free from the restrictions of activity, also become a regular support-type divine artifact. There was only one function of this event's exclusive divine artifact, but this only function was very practical. Zhou could observe the distribution of factions in the Heron Star Domain, also occasionally take a look at the locations of the lords of the other races, through this universe star map for example. After he was ready to attack the Heron Star Lord, he began to attack the lords of all races. At that time, he would become a hunter with a full universe star map, also the lords of all races, and even other factions would become his prey. Chapter 1238. True God Tier Heron Shock. Heron Continent. High up in the sky, where 5 supernovas were, soldiers flew out and quickly lined up. In a short while more than 50 billion soldiers, and more than 50 god spirits flew out. They formed a shocking army that blotted out the sky. A huge shadow descended from the sky, and enveloped the Heron Continent. Zhou was the last to fly out of the supernova. He looked at the Heron Continent below, and realized that it was an ordinary Western illusion-type continent. The civilization was mainly a magical civilization, supplemented by some totem extraordinary tier systems, bloodline extraordinary tier systems, witchcraft extraordinary tier systems, and other extraordinary tier systems. Together, they created the comprehensive extraordinary tier system of the Heron Continent. There were countless nations on the entire continent, and almost all of them were religious nations. Naturally, they believed in their true God Heron, continental and faith. It's managed pretty well, Zhou commented in his heart. Then, he directly activated King, and raised his strength to the level of a top-notch True God Tier advanced grade. Then, he silently activated the terrifying power of the Power Heavenly Emperor, and raised his combat strength to the level of a Master God Tier. Boom! An incomparably shocking pressure erupted from Zhou body, and swept towards the surroundings. At this moment, Zhou did not restrain his pressure at all. He released his pressure to his heart's content, and descended on the entire Heron Continent, as if announcing his arrival to the entire Heron Continent. Rumble. At this moment, the entire Heron Continent seemed to be unable to withstand Zhou pressure, and actually trembled slightly. Countless living beings, and even god spirits of the Heron Continent were terrified at this moment. A depressing haze appeared in their hearts, as if there was an extremely terrifying existence living high in the sky above them, suppressing the entire Heron Continent. In Heron Shrine in the central region of the Heron Continent, the Heron Star Lord, who was sitting cross-legged on the throne with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Zhou. Who is this? A solemn look flashed in his eyes. Heron hesitated for a few seconds before standing up. Then, his divine body turned into a golden stream of light, and flew towards Zhou. At the same time, Zhou also felt his strength and thought to himself, when using the identity of a mortal lord, Use the king and the power heavenly emperor the entire time to maintain your combat strength at the pseudo-master god tier level. Let the infinite worlds think from the beginning that I'm a super expert with peerless talent who can unleash combat power comparable to a master god tier at the true god tier stage. This way, those top bloodline races won't associate my identity with that of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Otherwise, if one also used a secret technique to increase my strength by a large margin, allowing a mortal lord to directly advance from the mid-tier deity level to the master god tier level, it would be too easy to tell that one am the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Even if one have the twin body lord talent, those enemies who can mislead me and don't treat me as the Lord of the Blazing Sun will probably think that I'm related to the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Otherwise, how can there be such a coincidence in the world when we're all humans and have grasped heaven-defying laws and secret techniques to increase our strength? Zhou Feit thought to himself. Thankfully, when he was outside, activating the king and the power heavenly emperor the entire time was not a huge drain on him. Maintaining normalcy was no problem at all. At this moment, a golden light flew over from afar and arrived in front of Zhou. After the light dissipated, he saw Lord Heron among them. When Lord Heron saw these 50 billion soldiers, more than 50 god spirits, and Zhou, who was above all the soldiers and god spirits, he couldn't help but frown. They did not come with good intentions. However, after sizing up Zhou Feit for a long time, a question mark appeared in his mind. Who is this guy? Why don't I remember anything about him? There didn't seem to be such an expert among the surrounding top factions. Heron was very cautious, even though he had no impression of Zhou because he felt a terrifying sense of threat from the other party. It was as if the other party could easily crush him with a single move. Esteemed guest, why have you suddenly descended on my Heron continent? True God tier Heron asked cautiously. I'm the lord of the human race. One came because my territory is in your Heron star domain. I want to take over your Heron star domain and become one of the territories of my mortal empire in order to make it easier to manage in the future. Zhou Feit said calmly. His words were very direct and hurtful. Aren't you being too direct even though you are powerful? So you're only here to inform me, not to discuss with me and ask for my permission, right? The Heron Star Lord felt a great humiliation. He was a true god tier god spirit after all. He ruled over thousands of god spirits, hundreds of billions of professionals, and trillions of subjects. He was usually very respected by everyone. Even if they met other true god tiers, everyone treated each other equally and friendly. Very few true god tiers would be so rash when they came up to speak. This was the first time he had met a true god tier like Zhou Feit. He was very angry now. He had even neglected the fact that Zhou Feit had just mentioned the identity of the Lord of all races. I would like to experience your excellency's methods. True god tier Heron laughed angrily. I'd like that too. Zhou Feit smiled. A moment later, Heron Star Lord, who had a swollen face, stood obediently on the spot. The corners of his mouth twitched from time to time. Zhou Feit patted him on the shoulder with a kind expression and said the coldest words in the gentlest tone. Are you convinced? 1 am convinced. The Heron Star Lord hurriedly said, convinced by Zhou Feit's physical persuasion. Then he'll be the master of the Heron Star domain in the future. Is there a problem? No problem, no problem. You really did promise me sincerely, didn't you? Of course, of course. Very good. Zhou Feit nodded in satisfaction. Then he patted the other party's shoulder and said, don't worry, you will still be in charge here. This emperor won't interfere too much. However, if you don't manage it well, be careful that this emperor will send someone to replace you. I will definitely manage it well. True God tier Heron's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said respectfully. He even started to address himself as a subject. He also did not expect that he would be able to retain his authority over this place. In that case, wouldn't it be not much different from before? It was just that there was an additional emperor above his head. What's the big deal? True God tier Heron didn't even think about anything that he couldn't manage well. He had always been good at managing the subjects. They were his believers after all. Zhou nodded slightly, seeing how happy he was. Then, he threw him a world ring and said, "Since you've already become a true god tier of our mortal empire, this is your present for your appointment. Every one of my true god tier god spirit would get one." True god tier Heron was stunned for a moment. Then, he entered the world rings with his spiritual will, and discovered a set of true god tier divine artifacts with gold laws, and the gift and exchange instructions inside. Zhou Fight ignored true god tier Heron's ecstatic reaction and directly said, "I allow you to join our mortal empire, and become a true god tier of the mortal empire." True god tier Heron recovered from his ecstasy and hurriedly said, "One will definitely." Before he could finish speaking, a lot of new information appeared in true god tier Heron's mind. He was stunned, and then he looked at Zhou Fight in shock. "Your Majesty, we are," he said in shock. Chapter 1239 Hegemony Points. Obscure Lordship Points. We act in the name of the mortal empire during the event. Zhou Fight said calmly, "Yes, Your Majesty." True god tier Heron suppressed the shock, excitement, and nervousness in his heart and hurriedly said, he never expected that the Lord faction he had joined was actually the legendary Lord faction of the common people's regal. No wonder. I was wondering which Lord faction of the factions actually had a master god tier lord overseeing it. So it is the blazing sun empire of the common people's regal. Then it is fine. However, it is really strange. Why didn't I think of this when I heard His Majesty say that His Majesty is the Lord of the human race? True god tier Heron was curious, but he did not dare to ask further. After Zhou Fight settled the Heron star domain, a line of text suddenly appeared in front of him. Lord of the Race event notification. Congratulations, you have successfully conquered true god tier Heron and his forces. You obtained 100 million hegemony points. Lord of the Race event notification. You obtained 200 million obscure lordship points because you were the first to conquer the intermediate great empire tier forces in the first stage of the event. Zhou Fight's eyes lit up when he saw the notification. That was indeed the case. During the first stage of the event, he could start to conquer other lord factions and obtain some unexpected rewards. Well, under normal circumstances, the first stage of the Lord of the Race event was the time for the lords of the various races to fight among themselves. It was not the normal time for an invasion. He had ended the internal strife in advance and started to go out to conquer other lord factions in advance. No matter what, he should be rewarded. Hegemony points and obscure lordship points. Could this be the content of the activities of the lords of the races in the later stages? Zhou Fight was curious. Then, he stopped thinking about it. If he had the time, he might as well conquer more lords. Then, he did not waste any more time. After exchanging a few simple words with true god tier Heron, he led the army and flew towards the nearest lord of all races nearby. The closest territory to the Heron continent was the territory of the lords of the Wind Spirit continent. At this moment, the Wind Spirit continent was in chaos because of the competition for the title of the first stage's Lord of the Race. The lords of all races of the Wind Spirit race fought against each other on this continent that did not have a large territory. When the races behind them saw this situation, in a moment of desperation, they wanted to imitate the humans and other top races and forcefully choose the strongest Lord of the Wind Spirit race to directly complete the first stage of the Lord of the Race event. However, something went wrong when they chose the strongest Lord of the Wind Spirit race. This was because the upper echelons of the Wind Spirit clan were not united. Some of the higher-ups wanted to choose this Lord of all races to be the strongest Lord of the Wind Spirit race. Some of the higher-ups wanted to choose the Wind Spirit Lord to be the strongest Lord of all races. For the sake of each other's interests, the higher-ups argued endlessly and even fought in secret. The battle between the lords of the Wind Spirit race and the other races had yet to be resolved. The upper echelons of their race were about to fight. The reason for this situation was mainly because there was no one in the upper echelons of the Wind Spirit race like Zhou who could decide everything with a single word. When they made decisions, they all had their own opinions and refused to submit to each other. Under such circumstances, it would be strange if they could agree. After Zhou Feit came to the Wind Spirit continent and learned of this situation through the information gathered by Zero, he could not help but laugh. They were still fighting among themselves at a time like this? However, he immediately reacted. Perhaps there were only a few examples of people like him and the other top races who could quickly unify their opinions and choose the strongest lord of all races. In situations like the Wind Spirit race, where they argued endlessly and even killed each other for the benefit of the strongest lords of the myriad races, were the most usual in the first stage of the Lord of the Races activity. He shook his head and flew out of the supernova. After briefly showing his muscles, all the lords of the Wind Spirit race and the upper echelons of the Wind Spirit race were instantly stunned. Human. Mortal Empire? Since when did the human ethnicity have such a powerful lord of all races other than the common people's regal? He had already established an empire, and it was not inferior to the Blazing Sun Empire. The Blazing Sun Empire ruled by the common people's regal was only an intermediate grade empire. Under the influence of the twin body lord talent, these Wind Spirit clansmen did not think of the mortal lord and the mortal empire in front of them as the lord of the Blazing Sun and the Blazing Sun Empire. They had different appearances, different soldier types, different lord weapons, and different auras. Who can this lord be? That was what they subconsciously thought. New notifications appeared after Zhou Feit took down all the lords of the Wind Spirit continent. Lord of the Race event notification. Congratulations, you have successfully conquered True God Tier Feng Wan and his forces. You obtained 100 million hegemony points. Lord of the Race event notification. You obtained 200 million obscure lordship points because you were the first to conquer the intermediate grade Empire tier forces in the first phase of the event. Notice. Congratulations, you have successfully conquered all the lords of the Wind Spirit race. You have received 1,000 hegemony points. Lord of the Race event notification. You obtained 200 million obscure lordship points because you were the first to conquer the intermediate grade Empire tier forces in the first phase of the event. Zhou Feit nodded in satisfaction after reading it. 1 conquest, 2 gains. Not bad, not bad. At this moment, Zhou's voice sounded in his mind. There shouldn't be any major problems on the Cerulean planet. You'll be in charge for the time being. I have something to do. I have to go back to the High Continent. I'll come back immediately if there's an emergency. Zhou Feit smiled and said, Don't worry, main body. Very few existences can threaten us, as long as the Supreme God realm and stronger experts don't appear. Focus on your work. Don't worry about us. Okay. Zhou replied simply, and returned to the Cerulean planet. Then, he returned to the High Continent through the Gate of Summoning. After Zhou left, Zhou Feit used the universe star map departed behind by Zhou to begin his large-scale expansion. He divided the troops into 100 small armies and attacked the lords of all races at once. After the lord of all races came to the High Continent, their power was severely weakened. Facing Zhou Feit's attack, they had no ability to resist at all and fell under the iron hooves of the mortal empire. As more and more lords fell, the reputation of the mortal empire spread to the ears of the lords of all races. At the same time, in the Blazing Sun Empire, Blazing Sun Imperial City, High Continent, Zhou had just returned when he received a piece of news. Arofa had returned with Jik and Seely. Chapter 1240. The Excited and Angry, Arofa. The Blazing Sun Imperial Capital. The Central Emperor Palace, located at the center of the Blazing Sun's capital, which was the place where court meetings were usually held to receive foreign guests. At this moment Arofa, Jik, and Seely were here. Zhou Manage was sitting on the throne not far away from them. Zhou Manage looked at Jik and Seely and felt the genuine God-tier professional's aura on them. He couldn't help but smile. Thank you, Your Excellency Arofa. Zhou turned to Arofa and smiled. You're too kind, Your Excellency. They are my disciples and granddaughters to begin with. They contributed to nurturing them. Why would they need to say the word hard work? Arofa hurriedly said. After the Battle of Aus, The shocking fact that the common people's regal in front of him had the combat power of a master god tier had already spread to the myriad worlds. The Sun Divine Court where Orofa was no exception. Even the two supreme existences of the Sun Divine Court and the Great Lunar Court personally praised Zhou, the common people's regal, after learning of his deeds. He was an unprecedented peerless lord. Any master god tier had to be polite to a top-notch lifestyle god spirit like Orofa, even though Orofa was only a top-notch true god tier divine artifact forger. However, they would just be polite. It didn't mean that he was more honorable than a master god tier. A true master god tier existence had a much higher status than him. When he found out that Zhou had the combat power of a master god tier, and that even Regal Great Solar and Regal Great Lunar were extremely polite to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, Orofa no longer felt any arrogance toward Zhou. Therefore, his current attitude was very humble. He even subconsciously tried to curry favor with him. When Zhou Manage saw Orofa's obvious change in attitude, he was a little surprised. Then he thought for a moment and understood the reason. He smiled faintly and suddenly asked, "I wonder what plans Your Excellency has for the future?" Orofa was stunned for a moment before falling silent. After a long while, he whispered, "I plan to return to the Sun Divine Court and continue to sharpen my forging skills. I hope to have the chance to advance to the level of the creator of artifacts in the future." The creator of artifacts? Zhou Manage raised his eyebrows and sized him up. Then, he shook his head in his heart. He could see that Orofa's potential was indeed at the Master God tier level. However, having the potential of the Master God tier level did not mean that he could definitely advance to that level of extraordinary tier profession. And Orofa could not be promoted to the Master God tier creator of artifacts profession from his perspective because he had too many connections in his heart. These connections allowed him to have more, but they also made his talent in artifact refinement mediocre. Yes, Orofa couldn't tell what Zhou Manage was thinking. He looked at Jik and Seely after saying that. Then a smile appeared on his face. He said respectfully to Zhou Manage, "Your Excellency Regal, I'll leave these two juniors to you. I don't have any other requests. I just hope that the two of them can be safe and sound." "Your Excellency, you don't have to worry about that." As divine artifact forgers, Jik and Seely spend most of their time creating and repairing equipment at the rear. Basically, they won't be in any danger. Even if they do encounter any danger, as long as our Blazing Sun Empire is still around, nothing major will happen to them. When Zhou Manage said this, his tone was very calm, but this calmness contained unparalleled and unquestionable confidence. Even Orofa was infected by the confidence in Zhou Manage's words. He relaxed and nodded with a smile. "Then I'm relieved. Oh yes, this is the pseudo-racial divine artifact Shadow Canopy that Your Excellency gave me last time. I've completely repaired it, and the effect is even stronger than before. Please take a look, Your Majesty." After Orofa finished speaking, he flipped his right hand and saw a divine object that emitted a faint black light like a black veil appear in his hand. It was the pseudo-racial divine artifact Shadow Canopy. With a thought, Zhou Manage saw the Shadow Canopy teleport in front of him. Zhou Manage took it and looked it up and down. Then he smiled. He praised Orofa. "As expected of the god of forging and sun, Your Excellency Orofa, this emperor is very satisfied with this restored pseudo-racial divine artifact. Your Excellency, this pseudo-race divine artifact has already accumulated a large amount of power of faith. If there's a certain opportunity, this pseudo-race divine artifact might be able to transform into a true race divine artifact." Orofa said. Zhou Manage nodded. Then they chatted for a while. Orofa turned around and looked at Jik and Seely with reluctance. Then, he looked at Zhou Manage and stated respectfully, "Your Excellency, it's getting late. I should return to the Sun Divine Court. If Your Excellency still needs to repair true God-tier divine artifacts or racial divine artifacts in the future, you can look for me through Seely and Jik. If I can't repair them, I can ask the divine artifact forgers I know for help." "That would be great." Zhou Manage smiled. Orofa nodded. Then, he glanced at the Imperial Palace and was about to leave. At this moment, Zhou Manage's voice suddenly sounded behind him. By the way, Your Excellency Orofa, I wonder if Your Excellency has considered the matter that this emperor mentioned last time. Orofa turned around and respectfully said, I know Your Excellency's good intentions, but I've been in the Sun Divine Court for many years. It can even be stated that I've been in the Sun Divine Court for most of my life. I really can't suddenly let go of all these and turn to Your Majesty now. However, if Your Majesty needs anything, you can look for me through Jik and Seely. As long as I can do it, I will do my best. In that case, there's actually no difference whether I join Your Excellency's Blazing Sun Empire or not. Things have become different. Orofa did not dare to be as arrogant as last time, so he had already rejected her as tactfully as possible. The organization I'm in is the Sun Divine Court, and you're only the ruler of an Empire Tier Lord faction. Even if you're powerful and have a bright future, I'm already standing at the end of most life forms. Why should I give up everything to join you? Zhou Manage fell silent seeing this. When Orofa saw this, he wanted to turn around and leave again. Your Excellency Orofa, you probably want to advance to the level of creator of artifacts, right? Zhou's voice sounded. Orofa stood still and said helplessly and complicatedly, which weapon cultivator in the endless heavens doesn't want to reach the extreme realm of the creator of artifacts? However, in this emperor's opinion, Your Excellency's chances of accomplishing this are slim. After Zhou Manage completed speaking, he pretended to shake his head regretfully. Orofa suddenly turned around and stared at Zhou. He stated angrily, What do you mean, Your Excellency? As a true god-tier divine artifact forger who was loyal to the art of craftsmanship, he definitely could not tolerate others saying that he could not reach the realm he dreamed of. This was because he had been trudging along this path to begin with. As he advanced, he often doubted if he could do it. If he met the other party who stated such things again, it would be no different from adding insult to injury. He was really afraid that he would believe such words. Then, he would appear unchanged on the surface, but in fact, he had already lost the pursuit in his heart. It was worse than killing him for such a god spirit. Furthermore, his teacher had previously stated something similar to him. Under the double questioning, even if the opponent was the common people's regal that he couldn't deal with, he couldn't control his emotions. Chapter 1241 Impurity. Promise. Beside them, Jik and Seely looked at their teacher and grandfather with some unfamiliarity. Why did this old man who was worthy of respect suddenly become a little unfamiliar at this moment? His Majesty had only expressed his opinion. Why did their teacher/grandfather suddenly seem to have been provoked and become extreme? Zhou smiled and said, Your Excellency, don't be angry. This emperor has yet to finish my sentence. Your Excellency, do you feel that you're not as concentrated as before when forging divine artifacts recently? Do you feel that the current you is very different from the previous you? Do you feel that in some aspects, the current you is even inferior to the previous you? Do you feel that you're improving less frequently than when you were weak? Do you even feel that you're more mediocre than before? Orofa couldn't help but widen his eyes when Zhou Manage started talking. The more Zhou Manage spoke, the more shocked he became. When he reached the end, he fell silent. Seeing this, Zhou Manage smiled and said, Your Excellency seems to have noticed it. You have the precious wealth, status, power, and fame that countless life forms dream of. In the eyes of other living beings, you are already standing at the end of their dreams. However, it is precisely because of these things that you have begun to fall into ease. To put it bluntly, you have already been dragged down by this wealth and are no longer as pure as before. Pureness might not be important to other things, but it's very important to forging skills. In fact, if you want to reach the peak of your skills, pure success is one of the most important determinants of your skills. Your Excellency Orofa, you have the talent of a master god tier. In fact, you already have the admission ticket to the door of the creator of artifacts. However, if you're too attached to the flowers and plants on the road, the admission ticket might expire and be invalid. Orofa opened his mouth wide and looked at Zhou in a daze. At this moment, Zhou and his eyes seemed to have become the figure of his teacher. The words of that time seemed to resound in his ears again. Disciple, put it down. What you care about has become a shackle to imprison you. Orofa originally thought that his teacher was saying that he was too concerned about pursuing the creator of artifacts, and had neglected whether his talent was enough to pursue this dream. From the looks of it, his teacher probably didn't mean that at all. It was just like what Your Excellency, the common people's regal, had said. What he cared about was the status, power, fame, identity, and resources he had in the Sun Divine Court. These things had made him who he was today, and also made he feel at ease and lazy, allowing these things to imprison him. After a long silence, Orofa smiled bitterly and said, "How could I not know about these things? However, knowing is one thing, being able to walk out of it is another. Do I have to give up everything I have in front of me, and only continue to pursue the creator of artifacts?" Jomanage said, "That depends on Your Excellency Orofa's choice. Besides, you don't have to give up everything. In addition, this emperor can remind you that if you really become the creator of artifacts, you will only have much more than what you have now. If you're troubled by the difficulties and don't become the creator of artifacts, you're actually still a true God-tier divine artifact forger. You can actually get back what you lost. Let's see if Your Excellency dares to make this choice." When Orofa heard this, a conflicted expression immediately appeared on his face. Jomanage looked at him for a long time without making a decision. He finally revealed his trump card and his ultimate goal for saying so much. "Your Excellency Orofa, join this Emperor's Blazing Sun Empire. If Your Excellency Orofa is willing to join this Emperor's Blazing Sun Empire, this Emperor guarantees that you will become the creator of artifacts in the future." Jomanage said, "Are you serious, Your Excellency?" Orofa was stunned for a moment before saying in disbelief, "Even the legendary Supreme God Realm might not guarantee that a true God-tier divine artifact forger could turn into a creator of artifacts in the myriad worlds. That was because Master God-tiers were all gods who had walked their own nomological path. Every Master God-tier's nomological path was unique. Hence, it was very difficult for true gods to turn into master gods with the help of other god spirits. He could only rely on himself on this path. Therefore, he found Jomanage's words unbelievable. Could this common people's regal be able to do this? However, judging from how the Supreme will favored this lord, it did seem possible. His heart immediately stirred upon thinking of this. This emperor's words are absolutely true. Jomanage smiled. What a joke. He had already promised the War Master God to help them advance to the Supreme God realm in the future. He had already agreed to this ridiculous request. Why would he be afraid of a request from a creator of artifacts who had advanced to the level of a Master God tier? He could just find a Master God tier creator of artifacts and kill him. He could just give him the Book of the God Spirit. Then am willing to join His Majesty's Blazing Sun Empire. After hearing Jomanage's words, Orofa thought for a long time before finally agreeing. He couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief after making this decision. He felt like he had let go of something. At this moment, Jomanage grinned and said, "There's no hurry. First, settle your matters in the Sun Divine Court before coming to this emperor to take office." "Oh yes. This is your reward." Jomanage threw a world ring over. After Orofa received it, his divine sense entered it, and discovered that not only was there a complete set of true God-tier advanced grade divine artifacts, there were also a total of 100 sets of true God-tier divine artifacts forging blueprints. At this moment, even a true God-tier divine artifact forger like Orofa, who came from a top-lord faction like the Sun Divine Court, was stunned. Regardless of whether it was the 6 true God-tier divine artifacts, or the 100 forging blueprints of the true God-tier divine artifacts, they were not a small sum to him. He did not expect to receive such a generous gift as soon as he joined the Blazing Sun Empire. The nervousness and uneasiness in Orofa's heart, because he was about to leave the Sun Divine Court, abruptly dissipated a lot. Not only because of the true God-tier divine artifacts and the forging blueprints, but also because of the strength and future potential of the Blazing Sun Empire. "Thank you, Your Holiness," Orofa said respectfully. Zhou managed nodded. Then, they chatted for a while before Arofa bade farewell and left. He wanted to return to the Sun Divine Court and settle the procedures for resignation. Your Majesty, will my instructor be all right? Jik could not help but worry. Seely, who was beside him, had the same worried expression. Don't worry, this emperor has already calculated that he will return safely. Zhou managed smiled. Jik and Seely heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, in the ruins of the original Elven Empire, Zhou and the resurrected Nadia were standing in the ruins of the Imperial Palace. In front of them was a tombstone that had just been built. It was Elizariel's cenotaph. Chapter 1242 Conversation with Collier. Zhou stood behind Nadia, who had just been resurrected, and looked at the former capital of the original Elven Empire. The once glorious and noble imperial palace had already turned into ruins, and all the treasures and wealth inside had been plundered. Even the throne that Elizariel had once sat on had been divided into several parts and forcefully shattered and taken away by the fleeing subjects of the original Elven Empire. He looked towards the east. The Elven Mother Tree that had once been as huge as the sky had also disappeared at this moment, leaving behind a terrifying deep pit that covered an area of hundreds of square kilometers and looked like an unfathomable abyss. It hasn't been long. Things have really changed. War can allow a country to accumulate wealth by leaps and bounds. It can also make a country disappear in a few days. Zhou shook his head silently. At the same time, he quietly felt the Lord Laws circulating in his heart. He sensed it for a long time before looking at Nadia in front of him. At this moment, Nadia was kneeling in front of Elizariel's cenotaph in silence. No one knew what she was thinking. Elizariel, oh Elizariel. It's already better than many emperors for you to have such a heroic general loyal to you in your life. Zhou thought to himself as he looked at Nadia's back. At this moment Nadia moved slightly. Then she turned around and bowed to Zhou. Thank you, Your Excellency, for bringing me here to see Her Majesty one last time, he said. His voice was a little low, and it was no longer as lively and relaxed as Zhou remembered. Why are you saying this even though we have his friendship? Zhou smiled. Then he said seriously, for the sake of the empire and its people, Elizariel had already made up her mind. I felt that even if I could reverse time to revive the revived Elizariel would probably still choose to commit suicide again. So I didn't revive him. I understand, Your Excellency. Nadia nodded. Then, he looked at Elizariel's grave and said in a low voice, You're right. If you revive without his consent, he might commit suicide again. Her Majesty Elizariel is such an emperor. Zhou nodded. Then, the two of them stayed here for a while before leaving together. On the way back, Nadia suddenly looked at Zhou and said, Your Excellency. Now that the original Elven Empire has been destroyed, and Her Majesty Elizariel has passed away, I no longer have a country to return to. I wonder if Your Excellency is willing to take in a countryless elf like me. Nadia. Zhou interrupted her and said with a smile, I need you. Come help me. Nadia was stunned for a moment before she nodded firmly. She knew that her meager strength was actually useless to Zhou. He only said these words to make herself feel more comfortable joining the Blazing Sun Empire. He didn't need to do this at all with his strength and status. However, he still put away all to help her. It was obvious how much he valued her. Even if the relationship between the two of them was just a chance encounter in the time ruins. Recalling what this Your Excellency had done for her in the past, Nadia couldn't help but feel a little dazed. Zhou had done too much for her. She was alone and had nothing to repay him with. She could only repay him, like how she worked for Elizariel with her life. She would have no regrets even if she died. It was a pity that the other party already had a family. Otherwise I could still. As soon as this thought appeared, Nadia, who was panicking, dismissed it. A moment later, in the Blazing Sun Imperial capital, after Zhou returned with Nadia, he got someone to arrange her residence while he returned to the shrine. After some thought, he opened the friend list on his personal terminal and opened a friend's video call. In less than 10 seconds, the other party took it. A purple behemoth emperor exuding a domineering aura was in the video with an extremely respectful expression. It was the emperor of the behemoth divine kingdom, Collier. Collier greets your majesty. Collier bowed. Collier, have you found the true god-tier master-servant territory contract? Zhou asked. There's already news. We've already sent our subordinates to buy it. The true god-tier master-servant territory contract will be sent over tomorrow at the earliest. Collier immediately said, Tomorrow. Zhou stroked his chin and pondered for a moment before nodding. All right, after the master-servant territory contract is delivered tomorrow, our two countries will immediately form a contract and become master-subordinate territorial relations, and the behemoth divine kingdom will be the emperor's subordinate divine kingdom. Of course, Collier had mixed feelings, but he said respectfully on the surface, Prepare yourself. Once the contract is formed tomorrow, this emperor will let you fight with the empire's army. Zhou suddenly said, Already? Collier was shocked. Wasn't it a little too rushed to combat as soon as they formed a contract? The first stage of the Lord of the Races event is only 3 days in total. How long do you want to drag it out? Zhou glanced at him and said indifferently, Don't use the concept of time to define the Lord of all races in front of you. Be careful not to fall asleep and wake up to find that your behemoth divine kingdom has been destroyed for hundreds of years. Zhou glanced at him and said indifferently, Don't use the concept of time to define the Lord of all races in front of you. Be careful not to fall asleep and wake up to find that your behemoth divine kingdom has been destroyed for hundreds of years. I understand. I will never make such a mistake, Collier hurriedly said. He naturally knew that Zhou was right. With the support of the supreme will, the growth of the lords was very fast, far exceeding the imagination of the local lords in this Lord of all races contest after all. In the past, there were examples of kingdoms and even empires being born in such a short period of time. However, there would definitely not be as many examples as there were now. The supreme will was naturally using the activities and rewards he had set up to add fuel to the fire. Zhou did not say anything when he saw this. Instead, he grinned faintly and said, You have to be prepared. Currently, even though there are many lord factions and even race factions that have submitted to this emperor, there has never been a case of a divine kingdom lord faction coming to submit. You could be said to be the first person to do such a thing. You're under a lot of pressure. In addition, the enemies this emperor will deal with tomorrow are not simple either. You have to do your best to make preparations. Otherwise, once there are serious casualties or something like that, although this emperor will revive you all equally, you will be recorded in the credit book. Collier's heart trembled, and he agreed heavily. I will do my best to prepare. Zhou nodded. Then, he didn't say anything else, and hung up the video call before looking into the distance, and revealed a faint smile. The various races in the outside world should soon know that my Blazing Sun Empire has 3 top-notch master god-tier existences protecting it. In addition, after tomorrow, information of the behemoth divine kingdom choosing to join me will spread. The combination of the two is enough to cause a stunning storm among the myriad races in the world. It will let all the lords and races know that this era has shifted because of me as the Lord of all races. Chapter 1243 Upgrading the Original Dragon Abyss. Time Divine Dragon, Kyoto. Before this, many top-notch lord factions and race factions were wavering in the new and old eras, not knowing which position to choose. Only some weak races and lords have joined me until now. Even though there are many of them, they are far from qualitative change. They can't help me much for the time being. After tomorrow, there should be some top factions willing to stand on my side. Zhou muttered to himself. His expression was calm as usual. In fact, he was already burning with ambition. He wanted to rely on his own strength to unite many lords and races, to overturn this era of top-notch bloodline races reigning supreme. As for relying on his own strength to become enemies with the myriad worlds, no lord would have such thoughts. Of course, if he continued to become stronger, it wasn't impossible for he to become enemies with all the races in the world alone. Why did he have to choose the most difficult path when he could easily reach the finish line? The matter of becoming stronger could be done after reaching the end point. Then, he came to the Gate of Summoning. After carefully looking at the construction information of the Gate of Summoning, he quickly discovered the Lord Talent information of the original Dragon Abyss. Building name: Original Dragon Abyss. Construction level: Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade. Construction effect: you can summon one Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Pure-Blooded Dragon every day from the original Dragon Abyss and become a subject under the Lord. There is a 1% chance of summoning a legendary dragon. Construction upgrade: 10,000 units of wood, 10,000 units of fine sand, 10,000 units of metal, 10,000 units of stone, 1,000 black iron tier mist core, 100 basic elemental gems. Territory upgraded to black iron tier intermediate grade. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? Jojo couldn't help but click his tongue after reading it. The strength of this Lord Talent was a little heaven-defying. Summoning a pure-blooded dragon every day? Wasn't this equivalent to having one Nazario a day? Jojo knew very well how strong Nazario was at the early stage. It could even be said that if not for Nazario being his strongest combatant in the early stages, even if he could reach his current level, he would definitely be much slower. As for the 1% chance of summoning a legendary dragon, there was no need to mention it. It was no exaggeration to say that a black iron tier elementary grade legendary dragon was equivalent to 100 black iron tier Nazarios. If someone is lucky enough to summon a legendary dragon on the first day of the lordship, then even if I have the combination of the King of Lutes and Nazario, I might still be able to defeat them. Jojo sighed. Fortunately, he didn't. Then, his gaze landed on the building upgrade conditions. It had to be said that the requirements for upgrading this building were quite ridiculous. Not only did he need a lot of materials, he had just advanced from Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade to Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade, and he was already asking for basic elemental gemstones. Even a top-notch lord with the original Dragon Abyss would not be able to accumulate so many upgrade resources in a long time. Right? He shook his head, and then threw in 40,000 units of basic resources, 10,000 black iron tier mist cores, and 100 basic elemental gems. A dark purple light came from the Gate of Summoning. Then, the information of the buildings in the original Dragon Abyss was updated. Building name: Original Dragon Abyss. Construction level: Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade. Construction effect: you can summon 2 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Pure-Blooded Dragons from the original Dragon Abyss every day, and become a subject under the Lord. There is a 1% chance of summoning a legendary dragon. Construction upgrade: 50,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of fine sand, 50,000 units of metal, 50,000 units of stone, 5,000 black iron tier mist core, 500 basic elemental gems. Territory upgraded to Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? Jojo still did not select to summon, and continued to spend resources to level up. Word soon appeared. After 2 more upgrades, he had upgraded the original Dragon Abyss to the Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade. Building name: Original Dragon Abyss. Construction level: Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade. Construction effect: you can summon 3 Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Pure-Blooded Dragons, and 1 White Silver Tier Elementary Grade Pure-Blooded Dragon from the original Dragon Abyss every day to become a subject under the Lord. There is a 2% chance of summoning a legendary dragon. Construction upgrade: 1 million units of wood, 1 million units of fine sand, 1 million units of metal, 1 million units of stone, 100,000 black iron tier mist core, 10,000 basic elemental gems. Territory upgraded to Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? Jojo couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The might of the original Dragon Abyss had truly shocked him. Without any hesitation, he continued to select to upgrade. A large number of resources were quickly consumed. After more than an hour, he finally advanced the original Dragon Abyss to the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade. At this level, The original Dragon Abyss could no longer proceed to advance due to the limitations of its territory. Only then did Zhou look at its latest establishing information. Building name: Original Dragon Abyss. Construction level: Mid-tier deity level intermediate grade. Construction effect: every day, you can summon 60 million green bronze tier intermediate grade dragons, 6 million white silver tier intermediate grade dragons, 600,000 yellow gold tier intermediate dragons from the original Dragon Abyss. 6 high-tier deity-level dragon gods will become subjects under the Lord. There is an 11% chance of summoning legendary dragons. Construction upgrade: 1,000 trillion units of wood, 1,000 trillion units of fine sand, 1,000 trillion units of metal, 1,000 trillion units of stone, 1 billion intermediate deity-level divine crystals, 1 billion basic elemental gems. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? After reading it, Zhou fell silent. He let out a long breath following a long while. Summoning more than 60 million pure-blooded dragons in a day. I've learned something new. It hasn't been long since I summoned all the dragons in the original Dragon Abyss. This Lord talent was so ridiculous that Zhou began to worry if there were so many pure-blooded dragons in the original Dragon Abyss. With the methods of the Supreme Will, such a thing shouldn't happen. Zhou shook his head and did not think too much about it. He chanted the summoning in his heart. At the same time, he ordered the original Dragon Abyss to transfer all the 60 million pure-blooded dragons summoned to the inner world of Cosmos Emperor in his territory. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In an instant, a large number of pure-blooded dragons descended into the Cosmos Emperor's inner world. Wind Dragon, Fire Dragon, Emerald Dragon, Lava Dragon, Shadow Dragon, Undead Dragon, Mountain Dragon, Light Spirit Dragon, Wind Thunder Dragon, Formless Dragon, Fierce Claw Dragon, Dark Dragon, Green Bronze Tier Dragon. All kinds of pure-blooded dragons descended into this boundless space. There were more than 6,000 of them, looking quite spectacular and shocking. Among the many pure-blooded dragons, a special dragon was quite eye-catching among them. This dragon was more than 100 light-years tall and majestic. He was silver-white in color, and there was a silver holy crown on his head. His body was surrounded by time phantoms. The time phantoms were like a supreme divine robe draped over his body. On it, there was a faint illusory scene of the past and future of various worlds. An aura that Zhou was familiar with appeared on his body. Zhou saw the dragon through the internal world projection of the spaceship. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows as his eyes revealed a look of shock. Time Divine Dragon Kyoto? What kind of luck is this? How did I summon this big shot on my first try? He muttered to himself. Chapter 1244 God of Books. Want to write an autobiography? Zhou looked at the silver-white legendary dragon with shock in his eyes. This legendary dragon Big Shot was considered a legendary existence, even among the legendary dragons. It was said that not only was the other party knowledgeable, he could also see through the future of life forms. What he loved the most was to travel through the various timelines and see the evolution of the world's life forms in each timeline. From there, he could comprehend the laws of time. Many legendary dragons had to show their respect to Kyoto. Moreover, they had more or less received the favor of the Time Divine Dragon during their growth. Among the legendary dragons, only the original dragon, the yellow gold sacred dragon god, and a few other top legendary dragons could suppress the other party in terms of status. Just as Zhou was in shock, the Time Divine Dragon in the Cosmos Emperor's inner world glanced in Zhou's direction before disappearing. The next second, he appeared in front of Zhou. Time Divine Dragon Kyoto. Greets Your Excellency Common People's Regal. Kyoto chuckled. Your Excellency Kyoto. Zhou returned the greeting politely. The Kyoto in front of him was only at the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade. This was naturally not the other party's true strength, but was probably because he wanted to adapt to the rules of the original Dragon Abyss, that this Big Shot specially reduced his strength to the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade. If the other party wanted to recover the strength of a master god tier at his peak, He could probably do it with a thought. At this moment, Kyoto spoke again. I traveled through time and came here for one matter. I was entrusted by a good friend who would like me to write a book for your majesty, an autobiography, and then keep it in his library. Oh, Zhou was a little curious. May I know who is your excellency's good friend? He claims to be the god of books. His greatest hobby is to write, read, and collect books. Kyoto smiled and said, I met him by chance and became good friends with him. He specially instructed me that if you're unwilling, he is also able to write an autobiographical book about you, Regal, by collecting information and myths. I wonder what does your excellency Regal think about that? By the way, my good friend also said that if your majesty is willing, after the book is completed, he will give you a gift. Zhou did not hesitate when he heard that. He smiled and said, It's not impossible to write a book as long as you don't pry into my privacy. However, this is my autobiography after all. I want to take a look after the book is completed. I want to delete it if there's anything inappropriate. This is your excellency's right, Kyoto said with a smile. Most of the content recorded in your autobiography is about your personal experience and some interviews. There won't be any privacy that you don't want to see. In that case, I have no objections. Zhou nodded. It was nothing more than a book that recorded his experiences. It was no big deal. I'll have to trouble you for a while in the future. If there's a need, I can use my old bones to fight for your excellency. Kyoto smiled. That's great. Zhou smiled and said, I'll have to rely on your excellency to take care of me in the future. This your excellency should be a top-notch master god tier existence, who was a master god tier advanced grade. Even though they weren't the top 10 master god tiers, they were considered one of the best master god tiers apart from the top 10 master god tier experts. With your excellency by his side, Zhou felt extremely safe. After that, he opened the door to the army and incorporated the 60 million pure-blooded dragons, including Kyoto, into the Dragon God Army. As the Dragon God Army had never had a true god expert, in addition to the fact that they were all pure-blooded dragons, there were very few of them. Therefore, they had always been the weakest army under him. Now, with the addition of more than 60 million pure-blooded dragons, and the Master God tier Kyoto, the Dragon God Army's strength was no longer inferior to the Blazing Sun Army. Then, he thought for a moment and said, Your Excellency Kyoto, there are still 2 to 3 hours left today. I plan to bring my troops out to train and conquer a few territories. Would Your Excellency like to come along? The main reason was that he and the insight defection of the Star Alliance masters under him had yet to be used. He wanted to use the remaining time to instigate the insight defection. Sure. Kyoto smiled and nodded. He would show his point of view to His Majesty since he wanted to perceive he abilities. In that case, he would show it to this Regal. He looked at the Regal and felt the rich light sacred dragon bloodline and the aura of the other legendary dragons. He sighed inwardly. This Regal really had a deep relationship with the dragons. It was actually related to so many legendary dragons. In the current era of the Lord of all races, it was unknown if this relationship was good or bad. He could take this opportunity to follow this Regal and see his prospect and the fate of the myriad worlds. Kyoto, who walked the law of time and cultivated the law of fate at the same time, was very curious about Zhou's fate and future. Zhou quickly set off with the army. The number of troops and god spirits that Bai Yun and the others had taken away only accounted for half of the total number of troops and god spirits under him. Therefore, half of them were left behind in the Blazing Sun Empire to be in charge of going out to fight and protect the territory. However, it was only half of them. There were a total of 500 trillion soldiers, more than 1 million god spirits, and more than 700 true god tiers. In addition, Bai Yun's main body was taking the Eternal Mothership to Cerulean Planet, and her clone was following Zhou through the Gate of Summoning. Now that Bai Yun was already a true god tier expert, it was easy for her to create a low-tier deity-level elementary-grade clone that could not last long. As for the Time Divine Dragon Kyoto, even though he was mentally prepared, He could not help but exclaim in his heart when he saw Zhou army. This number of troops and god spirits was too ridiculous. Even some Divine Kingdom Lord factions might not have so many soldiers and god spirits. It was hard to imagine that this was a force that lords of all races could have at this stage. However, it was precisely because of this that this human lord in front of him had made a name for himself as the common people's regal. There were only wrong names and no wrong titles. Not to mention the title of regal personally given by the supreme will. Kyoto pondered for a few seconds. Then he saw a silver light flash on his body. He had turned into an old man in a silver divine robe. He took out a book and a pen out of thin air and commenced to write on the book. Zhou was slightly surprised to perceive this. It started just like that. He didn't mind and continued doing whatever he wanted. Your Majesty, Luo Sheng, who had already become a true god-tier expert, strolled up to Zhou and uttered respectfully, "We still have about 56 seconds before we reach the high-level Scarlet Empire, Blue Dew Empire, which is adjacent to our territory." High-level Scarlet Empire? Zhou raised his brows slightly and asked in confusion, "Was there such a high-level Scarlet Empire around our territory in the past? Why don't I have any impression of it?" As the ruler of a country, he knew very well who the countries around his country were. However, he had no impression of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire at all. Chapter 1245 Activate the 10,000 Spirit Saint. Your Majesty, this high-level Scarlet Empire was born during the King of 10,000 Kings event, and it's not the only one. There are many such high-level Scarlet Empires, and their territories are all connected to our blazing Sun Empire. The reason why so many Scarlet forces could rise so quickly is mainly because they were born from a calamity like the calamity of the myriad races. The Scarlet invasion forces that came from the Crimson Great Cosmos left a large number of resources and Scarlet Remnant forces that couldn't retreat in time before they left the High Continent. It was these forces that formed the new Scarlet Lords. And, originally, most of the lords around our territory retreated in advance to find new territories because they were afraid of us and were afraid that we would invade them. Even though we tried our best to occupy the ownerless areas that they left behind, there were still some areas that we couldn't occupy in time. These Scarlet Lord forces took advantage of the situation and occupied these ownerless areas to establish a new Scarlet Lord force. Luo Sheng explained. I see. Zhou came to a realization. Then he smiled. The other Lord factions are so afraid of us that they fled. When these Scarlet factions saw this situation, not only did they stay far away from me, but they actually dared to occupy those ownerless areas and dominate under my nose. You're really bold. Zhou shook his head. Your Majesty, even though these ownerless areas are abandoned, there are still a large number of buildings without blueprints on them. As long as these buildings are placed in the building blueprint, they will recover their functions and can be used directly. This is indeed a great temptation for some Scarlet Lords who don't have a kingdom or territories. In this era, there are many lords who are bold. Luo Sheng smiled. In this era where the Lord of all races, the Supreme Will, and the Crimson Overlord were enemies, those who were timid would not dare to be lords. Anyone who had been a lord for a long time would be very bold. That makes sense also. Zhou was speechless. Then he said, in that case, let's destroy these fellows who have occupied our territory and subdue our territory. Those ownerless regions had appeared because of him and the blazing Sun Empire. In Zhou's eyes, they were left to him by the lords of the people of foreign races who had retreated because they were afraid of him. How could he allow his territory to be occupied by Scarlet Fog monsters? AUS had been chased away by him. How could he tolerate this? Yes, Your Majesty, Luo Sheng said solemnly. He shared the same thoughts as Zhou. That was to never allow the blazing Sun Empire's territory to be contaminated by external enemies. The Cosmos Emperor had already arrived at the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. At Luo Sheng's order, all the soldiers, heroes and god spirits flew out of Cosmos Emperor and stood in the sky, looking down at the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. Nearly 50 billion soldiers, 1 million god spirits, and more than 700 true god tiers stood in the sky, casting a huge shadow on the territory of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. Zhou observed the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire below. After a few seconds, he raised his eyebrows slightly and clicked his tongue in wonder. It seems that they're not all fools who only know how to occupy territory. They still know to guard against us. After hearing Zhou's words, Luo Sheng also looked down at the territory of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. When he saw the situation inside, he was immediately shocked. He said in disbelief, "Why are there so many scarlet soldiers and scarlet god spirits? Did they join forces?" "I think so." Zhou nodded and looked for a while before saying, "There are about 300 trillion scarlet soldiers, 1.5 million scarlet god spirits, and more than 300 true god tiers. At least 100,000 Scarlet Lord forces have gathered here. And there's no lack of Scarlet Empire tier Lord forces. It's hard for them to gather so many Scarlet soldiers and Scarlet God spirits." He clicked his tongue in wonder. With so many Scarlet soldiers and true God tiers, they could fight against a Divine Kingdom Lord faction. He originally thought that this trip was just an ordinary Insight defection activity. He didn't expect to meet a good opponent. Good. The more the merrier. The more you come, the more satisfying it will be for me. The 10,000 Spirit Saint. How did they react so quickly? How did they know that we would come to our door first and set up our troops here in advance? Luo Sheng was a little surprised. "Your Excellency is most likely to attack the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire first, because the Scarlet Empire closest to the Blazing Sun Empire's borders. In addition, the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire's king is the strongest Scarlet True God tier among them. So, he has the authority to gather all the Scarlet soldiers and God spirits here." Kyoto's eyes flashed with the light of the law of time. Luo Sheng nodded in realization. At this moment, the Scarlet Army below also discovered the Blazing Sun Army that was moving unhindered in the sky. The Blazing Sun Empire is here. This is much more terrifying than our military strength. There are so many God spirits and true God tiers. It looks like we can't defeat them. Run. If we stay here, we'll die. A bunch of idiots. Those who dare to say that they want to escape will be killed without mercy. When the Scarlet Army below noticed the Blazing Sun Empire's army and God spirits, most of them immediately panicked. Even though the military strength of both sides was not much different at this moment, the Blazing Sun Empire and the common people's regal were famous. Even the Scarlet invading army, led by an existence like AUS, had been defeated by them. These little armies still had some self-awareness. They knew that even if both sides had similar military strength, it would be very difficult for them to defeat the other party. At this moment, the ruler of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire, True God Blue Dew Scarlet, had spoken. The Blue Dew True God tier's true form was formed from the Blue Dew True Water of the elemental realm. It looked completely blue, but its eyes were scarlet. He looked at the flustered red army and stated coldly, "Where can you run to? We only have one way out now, and that is to kill our way out. All Scarlet soldiers, Scarlet heroes, Scarlet God spirits, and Scarlet True God tier. On my command, attack with me," he shouted at the end. Then, he was the first to charge towards the army of the Blazing Sun Empire. Countless Scarlet True God tiers, Scarlet God spirits, and Scarlet soldiers followed closely behind. Zhou nodded his head and activated the 10,000 Spirit Saint the moment they exchanged blows. Prompt. You have activated your mythical tier unique Lord talent, 10,000 Spirit Saint. All spirits see you as a supreme saint and long to follow you. Lord talent notification 1. A total of 351,568,568 Black Iron Tier Scarlet Soldiers. 217,501,107,500 Green Bronze Tier Scarlet Soldiers. 165,500,124,738 White Silver Tier Scarlet Soldiers. 114,352,503 Legendary Tier Scarlet Soldiers. 861,503 Low-Tier Deity, Level Scarlet God Spirits. 522,306 Mid-Tier Deity Level Scarlet God Spirits. 151,000 250 high-tier deity-level Scarlet God followers, and 150,000 high-tier True God followers. A smile appeared on Jojo's face. The 10,000 Spirit Saint had directly incited 1,565,250,160,540 red soldiers, 1,535,059 Scarlet God spirits, and 151 True God tiers. Now the number of troops under him had already reached 1,148,774,5,058. 13,003,446 soldiers, 3,575,525 God spirits, and 1,713 True God tiers. My troops have officially broken through the quadrillion level. Jojo was excited. Chapter 1246 The Editor's Preface of the Time Dragon God on the battlefield. The Blue Dew Scarlet Empire led more than 3 trillion Scarlet Alliance troops, and there was an internal strife in an instant. Half of the Scarlet soldiers, the Scarlet God Spirit, and the Scarlet True God tier suddenly turned around and attacked their comrades with a fierce and fanatical expression, and were caught off guard. More than 20 trillion Scarlet Soldier God spirits were either dead or injured. This internal strife directly reduced the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire's available military strength to more than 120 trillion. On the other hand, the Blazing Sun Empire's combat strength had reached an astonishing 600 trillion. Coupled with the internal tension caused by the internal strife, the soldiers of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire's alliance army began to distrust their comrades. Their overall combat strength had decreased by more than 50%. On the other hand, the morale of the Blazing Sun Empire's army was rising. The situation on the battlefield instantly leaned towards the Blazing Sun Empire. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the Blazing Sun Empire's victory was already set in stone. What followed was just a matter of time. When True God Tier Blue Dew saw the obvious difference in morale, despair flashed across his eyes. Why were they at such a huge disadvantage when the war had just begun? Could this be the terrifying aspect of the common people's regal and the Blazing Sun Empire? At this moment, Scarlet True God Tier Blue Dew and the other Scarlet True God Tier suddenly understood why AUS had lost to this human lord despite having such a terrifying army. However, Scarlet True God Tier Blue Dew quickly realized that his despair had only just begun. As soon as the soldiers of both sides came into contact, the Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers and Forbidden Mages of the Blazing Sun Empire quickly displayed their superb combat strength that far exceeded the Empire tier soldier types. They directly suppressed the soldiers of the Scarlet Empire's allied army on the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire's side. Seeing this, Blue Dew and Scarlet True God tier felt even more despair. If the Scarlet Alliance army still had a 10% chance of winning, after the Blazing Sun Empire soldiers displayed their superpowers, the probability of them winning was 0%. Half an hour later, peace returned to the battlefield. The Blue Dew Scarlet Empire was completely wiped out. The Blazing Sun Empire's army won a complete victory and began to clean up the battlefield. What a crushing war! Kyoto shook his head. The difference was too great, and he had yet to make a move. At this moment, he suddenly realized that the soldiers in the distance were carrying the corpses of the dead soldiers and flying towards Cosmos Emperor. Your Majesty, what are they doing? Kyoto felt that he could take action in this aspect, so he pointed at them and said, "There's a resurrection altar on Cosmos Emperor. They brought the dead soldiers to revive." Jojo took a look and shook his head with a smile. These guys fight like lunatics. They clearly have free revival opportunities, but they still died more than twice. It's to the extent that they have to use the resurrection altar to revive. Resurrection altar? Kyoto thought for a moment and said, "Is it the resurrection altar created by Your Excellency Tritis?" "That's right." Jojo nodded. Kyoto was indeed one of the most knowledgeable existences in the myriad worlds. He had actually guessed that it was the goddess of life just by hearing him say that. As far as I know, using this resurrection altar seems to require extremely rare faith nerves to use. Could it be that your majesty wants to use a huge amount of faith nerves to revive these fallen soldiers? Kyoto asked. Of course. Zhou nodded. They are all this emperor's soldiers. How can this emperor watch them die? Your Excellency Kyoto, you've just arrived in the Blazing Sun Empire, so you might not be aware of it. Our soldiers have always been like this. If they die, they'll be resurrected. This kind of thing has been happening for a long time. Among the soldiers under this emperor, there are many talented people who have died dozens or hundreds of times. Currently, they are all still alive and well. Many soldiers have even become god spirits in this kind of life and death tempering. It's precisely because of this resurrection method that this emperor has maintained a zero mortality rate in the war for a long time. At the end, Zhou's expression was rather arrogant. He rarely showed such an expression to outsiders. However, when it came to the zero mortality rate in war, he was rather pleased with himself. This was indeed something to be proud of. A lord like him, who could maintain a zero mortality rate, was probably unprecedented. There shouldn't be anyone like him in the future. After Kyoto heard Zhou's words, a hint of shock finally appeared on his usually calm and indifferent expression. The zero mortality rate of war, that had been maintained for a long time? Let alone hearing about such a thing, he didn't even dare to think about it. Among all the lord factions he knew, there was no lord faction that could create a record of 0 deaths in war, because this was simply an impossible record. How could no one die in a war? This was common knowledge that all the lords knew, even the goddess of life and the master god tier of death, who controlled the 2 laws of life and death, would definitely not be able to do such a thing. The lord in front of him, no, the common people's regal had done it. After a long silence, he suddenly had a flash of light in his eyes. He slowly asked, "Then, doesn't that mean that the subjects in His Majesty's territory have never experienced the tragedy of a broken family because of war?" "That's true," Zhou said with a faint smile, as though this was an extremely ordinary matter for him. "Furthermore, because our army has a good reputation, good treatment, and a sense of security and honor, countless subjects in the country are crazy about joining the army. Even women, children, and the elderly, these subjects who are not suitable to participate in the war, want to join the army and fight for our Blazing Sun Empire. To our enemies, combat is an incomparably terrifying nightmare. But to our subjects, war? They are never afraid. They even want to participate enthusiastically." "Then did they join?" Kyoto asked. The smile on Zhou's face gradually faded. He said indifferently, "The young men of the Blazing Sun Empire aren't dead yet. It's not their turn to join. War is ultimately a bad thing. Our Blazing Sun Empire is just a special example. The living beings in other places in the myriad worlds are still in deep trouble because of the war. One day, this emperor hopes that this emperor can personally end this war." When he stated this last sentence, Zhou's voice was very low, as if he was talking to himself. "Then what will happen to His Majesty's undead army after this war that affects the myriad worlds ends?" Kyoto seemed to have sensed something and asked, "If the myriad worlds really welcome peace, I will disband the soldiers under my command, or even disband my empire." A smile appeared on Zhou's face. He seemed to have thought of this long ago. "I will give my soldiers, generals, heroes, and god spirits sufficient pensions and guarantees. Then, I will let them do whatever they want. Yes, the premise is that they don't harm the world. In short, if the combat ends, they should welcome their own lives and not follow me as their master, and continue to do things for me. They should have their own lives, their own dreams, their own families, their own lives. It's not like now, where we're forced into the maelstrom of war. As for me, I'll live with my wife, play games with Zhou Chengmin, travel around the world with Wu Tu, see all kinds of customs in the myriad worlds, and many other things. That will definitely be very interesting." Kyoto looked at Zhou, who was smiling to himself, and could not help but be stunned. After a long time, only then did he come back to his senses. After thinking for a long time, he opened the wordless book in his hand and wrote these lines of words on the first page. Preface by editor. The common people's regal is the strongest, most handsome, most special and strangest lord I've ever seen. He doesn't like war, but he has become the king of war of the new era. He loves his wife, but he rarely meets his wife. While he likes to play games, he rarely touches them on weekdays, and yet he has a huge virtual game empire under his command. He wants to see the customs of all the races in the world, but he stays in his imperial capital every day, guarding his subjects and territory. He has everything that other living beings envy, but it also seems to be very far away from what he has. This common people's regal has stirred up endless killings. It's normal for he to be exterminated, but in his country, it's a piece of peace and prosperity. Everyone seems to live in a paradise. He hopes to end this endless combat between worlds. This wish was something that those high and mighty old lord factions couldn't achieve, even after scheming for countless years. However, this human lord who had been in the high continent for less than a year, had stated it firmly. What does he seem to be carrying? Perhaps it's his desire, or the responsibility of an emperor, or the innocent gaze of an innocent child oppressed by combat by the roadside, or perhaps something else. I, the Time Divine Dragon, Kyoto, will record all of this with the brush of time, and present it to myself and the readers. Chapter 1247 Time Divine Dragon Kyoto Strikes. Super Large-Scale Time Reversal. Kyoto closed the book after he finished writing the editor's introduction. What followed was the main text. He had to think carefully before writing. He looked up at Jojo with a faint smile. He was getting more and more interested in this common people's regal, who had a close relationship with the dragons. He was just being entrusted by a good friend to help him write an autobiography for common people's regal before he arrived. Now, he really wanted to see the future of this existence. Could such a human regal, who was filled with childish dreams, really do what he wanted to do and become the person he wanted to do? The Time Divine Dragon was interested to know. Actually, whether it was childish or not depended on the facts. If someone said it but couldn't achieve it, then one could be said to be childish. However, if someone not only said it out loud, but also did it, then no matter how naive and unbelievable this matter was, that person would be looked up to. However, Kyoto didn't forget his business. Your Majesty, I can actually contribute to the resurrecting of the soldiers. Kyoto pointed at the corpses of the dead soldiers, and said with a smile, "This emperor would naturally be more than happy if your excellency can make a move." Jojo was stunned for a moment before smiling. Naturally, he trusted his excellency's words. According to the records of the dragon bloodline in his body, it was said that he had even done a magnificent feat of reviving a legendary dragon. In terms of resurrection ability, he was not much inferior to the two master god tiers of life and death. Kyoto nodded and flew above the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire and Cosmos Emperor. When Jojo saw this, he also ordered the soldiers who were carrying the corpses to put them down. The soldiers immediately put down the corpses of their comrades, and waited for further orders. Kyoto could not help but praise in his heart when he saw this. What a disciplined army. Then, his expression turned serious as he silently chanted a spell. A miraculous river that reflected countless space-time phantoms, and spanned the space-time of various worlds quietly reappeared from space as a low, complicated, and mysterious incantation was being chanted by Kyoto. Surrounding this magnificent river was a boundless red floating continent. Long river of time and space, eternal mainland. Legendary tier space-time divine dragon was born in the long river of time and space. It should be true. Jojo muttered to himself when he saw this scene. Speaking of which, after the river of time and space and the eternal continent appeared, the river of time and space began to flow slowly in the eternal continent, as if what Kyoto summoned was not a phantom but a real existence. At this moment, the incantation in Kyoto's mouth suddenly became hurried and high. The next second, something that shocked countless life forms happened. The river of time and space actually began to flow back slowly under Kyoto's incantation. Even though it only flowed in reverse for a moment, it still produced a large amount of power of time and space at that moment. This power of time and space descended within a radius of billions of kilometers of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. Within this range of billions of kilometers, all the dead soldiers were resurrected in the blink of an eye. The injuries on the injured soldiers quickly reversed until their injuries disappeared. Even the terrain that had been changed because of the war, and the buildings that had been destroyed were reversed in time and quickly returned to normal. Moreover, the power of time and space had a selective recovery. For example, the Scarlet soldiers killed by the Blazing Sun Empire's soldiers did not recover with the flow of time. They were still in a state of death. Seeing that everything had recovered, Kyoto chuckled and stopped casting. Then he said to Zhou, "I hope your majesty is satisfied." "I'm satisfied. I can't be more satisfied." Zhou looked at Kyoto in surprise. This time reversal not only revived his soldiers, but also restored all the buildings damaged by the war. Now they could directly send residents and professionals to the capital of the Blue Dew Scarlet Empire. They didn't even need to do any repair work. This saved them a lot of trouble. It had to be known that for the victors of the war, restoring the damaged city facilities after the war was the most troublesome and expensive thing. Even Zhou was no exception. He didn't care about spending money. What he cared about was that repairing the damaged city's facilities would consume some manpower and time. Now that the space-time divine dragon was here, this problem did not exist. He secretly sized up Your Excellency Kyoto and realized that he didn't seem to have expended any energy at all after using this time reversal. Zhou clicked his tongue. This Your Excellency's attainments in the law of time were much more terrifying than he had imagined. "Your Excellency, how many times can you use such an extended nomological skill in a day?" Zhou asked. "It's just going against the flow of moment within a radius of billions of miles. For me, I can use it however many times I want in a day." Kyoto smiled faintly and said, "I can reverse time in a boundless universe at best. To me, it's very easy to use this small time reversal dozens or hundreds of times a day. Your Majesty, don't worry." He was being humble. One of the things he often did was also his greatest ability, was to travel through various timelines, and even restart the entire world's timeline to reach the time point he wanted. Even though the worlds where those timelines were located were all subsidiary small universes that were attached to the supreme great cosmos, and could produce countless lives and deaths in the moment frame of a thought, it was still an astonishing method that many true god tier were far from being capable to do. "That's great," Zhou uttered with a smile. "In that case, Your Excellency, please follow the army and use this time reversal law skill after the war. This law skill is very significant to our Blazing Sun Empire. I'm already Your Majesty's subject. Your Majesty, you don't have to be so polite. Just give me your orders." Kyoto chuckled. He naturally did not forget that although this humble common people's regal in front of him was young, he already had the combat power of a Lord God tier that was comparable to him. Once the two of them fought, even if he had many means, he might not dare say that he would definitely win. Coupled with his current identity as Zhou's subject, he truly treated Zhou as his majesty. Zhou understood Kyoto's meaning. He thought for a moment and nodded. After a while, after cleaning up the battlefield, Zhou thought for a moment. In order to let the Lords of the Star Alliance use their insight defection as rapidly as possible, he simply divided the 6 trillion plus troops into more than 300 groups. He let the Lords of the Star Alliance each lead more than 2 trillion soldiers and their own troops to the enemy forces around the Blazing Sun Empire's territory to carry out a separate insight defection. This way, he should be capable to use his insight defection in the shortest moment possible. When Zhou thought of this, he immediately sent troops to convey his thoughts. In a short while, the Blazing Sun Empire's army split into more than 300 troops and headed to the various borders to oppose the lords. This method was indeed extremely efficient. In less than an hour, all the Star Alliance masters successfully instigated the insight defection and returned with the soldiers. Chapter 1248 Mythical Tier. The only Lord Talent, God of Agriculture, Shinnon's Blessing. After some calculations, they had brought back about 120 billion scarlet soldiers, 625 god spirits, and 12 true god tiers. The benefits this time could be said to be far inferior to the insight defection results obtained by the Scarlet Army that had previously instigated Aus. However, Zhou was not surprised. How could the scattered soldiers around the Blazing Sun Empire compare to Aus' Scarlet Alliance army? Moreover, the Scarlet Alliance army that he had just defeated was the vast majority of the troops that they had gathered. After sending out these troops, there weren't many left in their respective countries. It was already beyond his expectations that he could instigate insight defection to gather so many scarlet soldiers and scarlet god spirits. It was already late at night. Although Zhou's army was no longer afraid of the scarlet fog at night, due to the lord talent of the scarlet natural enemy, in order to let the soldiers rest and adjust, Zhou still brought them back to the Blazing Sun Empire to continue the battle tomorrow. In the Blazing Sun Imperial capital, after Zhou returned, he immediately went to the shrine and turned his attention to Zhou fight on Cerulean planet. Then, he learned that after Zhou fight conquered True God Heron and the Lords of the Wind Spirit race, he conquered 3 True God tier Lord factions and a total of 112 Lord factions. He obtained a total of 310,600,000 hegemony points and 154,200 obscure lordship points. The 3 True God tier Lord factions that had the protection of true gods contributed the most hegemony points. The 3 True God tier Lord factions alone contributed a total of 300 million hegemony points. The remaining 106,000 hegemony points were contributed by the lords of the myriad races. As for the obscure lordship points, all the factions contributed similarly. It could be seen that the hidden shop points did not value the strength of the enemy faction that they conquered. What they valued more was the number of enemies they conquered. In the following period of time, Zhou fight and the rest did not plan to rest either. Instead, they prepared to continue attacking all the surrounding lord factions. This was because the active universe that Zhou fight was in was a new super-large boundless universe, created by the Supreme Will. For the time being, there was no threat of the Scarlet Fog. Therefore, be it Zhou fight or the lords of the other races, they would obviously not let go of this good opportunity to develop at night. The other lords who should fight for the first stage of the Lord of the Race continued to fight for this position. Zhou fight naturally took advantage of this time to continue to conquer the enemy forces and accumulate hegemony points and obscure lordship points. Zhou naturally agreed to Zhou fight's idea. Then, he chatted with Zhou Zhan for a while. He mainly wanted Zhou fight to pay attention to collecting space-time elemental gems, so that the Blazing Sun Empire on the High Continent could advance. Then, he cut off the connection. Following that, Zhou entered the world of reincarnation and continued to comprehend the Lord's laws. He had to raise his strength to the true God tier level as soon as possible. At that time, Zhou's personal strength would undergo a qualitative change. Even without using the power of the Moon Demon or the power Heavenly Emperor, he could rely on his Law Skill King to possess true Master God tier combat strength. In addition, the power Heavenly Emperor, the Supreme Sacred Body, the Master God tier Divine Artifact, and many other aspects had enhanced his strength. When the time came, he was even confident that he would not be defeated by the 10 Master God tier existences. Time flew by. Word soon appeared. They arrived the next day. In the Reincarnation Sacred Palace, Zhou opened his eyes. He sensed his Supreme Sacred Body and frowned slightly. After exhausting all the Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and Lord Talent Spheres, the progress of upgrading the intermediate True God tier Supreme Sacred Body to an advanced True God tier Supreme Sacred Body has only increased by half? Looks like I still need 2 days to raise the Supreme Sacred Body to the level of a True God tier advanced grade. I really hope to reach the low-level Master God tier Supreme Sacred Body as soon as possible. When the time comes, I should be invincible among Master God tier. Even if the 10 Master God tiers attack me together, they won't be able to do anything to me. Zhou was filled with anticipation. Then, He looked at the new Lord talent that he had awakened during his cultivation. As expected, it was also the mythical Tier 1 and only Lord talent. Lord talent, God of Agriculture, Shinon's Blessing, mythical tier, unique. Talent effect 1, Blessing of the God of Agriculture. Your territory is blessed by the God of Agriculture Nongxi. In your territory, the production of all crops will increase by 10,000%. All agricultural lifestyle professionals can obtain promotion energy by planting and harvesting crops. The promotion energy obtained will also increase by 10,000%. Talent effect 2, God tier cultivation. The agricultural lifestyle professionals in your territory have a 5% chance of cultivating crops with +1 quality when cultivating agricultural crops. There is a 1% chance of cultivating crops with +1 quality and benign mutations. Talent effect 3, Son of Agriculture. When you and the agricultural lifestyle professionals under you reach the limit of your potential, you can break through the limit of your potential and reach a new profession realm by focusing on agricultural theory and practical knowledge. Talent effect 4. Food is the priority of the people. Any living being who eats the crops produced in your territory will experience the feeling of happiness from it, greatly increasing the probability of them eating it multiple times. Specific talent effect 5. Master God's protection. The development process of your Lord's faction will not be hindered by other Master God level powerhouses. The Machina God 0 will secretly protect you and your Lord's faction, stopping or killing any Master God level powerhouses who dare to come and have malicious intentions. Specific talent effect 6. Protector of the Divine Kingdom. When your Lord's faction advances to the beginner level Divine Kingdom, the God of Agriculture, Shinon, will automatically join your Lord's faction and become a loyal worshipper of your Master God tier. However, you have to promise him that you will let he join the battlefield as little as possible and have your own time to study the upper limit of agricultural development. After reading it, Zhou raised his eyebrows slightly. Then he muttered to himself in puzzlement, I don't remember the God of Agriculture, Shinon, being one of the 10 Master Gods. Even though the God of Agriculture, Shinon, is also a high-level Master God, and is also a God blessed by the heavens, he is considered to be the weakest among all the Master God tier advanced grade God spirits. He can't join the ranks of the top 10 Master Gods at all. In addition, this God of Agriculture's requirements are low enough. He only wants to join the battlefield as little as possible, and give him moment to study the upper limit of agricultural development. He doesn't want to advance to the Supreme God realm at all. As he, who possessed many bloodline inheritances, he naturally knew who the 10 Master God tiers were. They were the War Master God Terrence, the Machina Master God 0, the God of Death, Thanatos, the Goddess of Life, Tritis, the Wisdom Master God Topbirth, the Master God of Light, Hilu, the original Master God tier Source, the Primordial Dragon First Venerable, the King of all gods Di Huang, the Chaotic Beast God, Heaven Curse Beast. There was no God of Agriculture, Shinon, among them. Wait, there's indeed no prefix of the 10 sacred blessings in the prefix of this Lord Talent name. Could there be other Lord Talents, other than the 10 God series of Lord Talents that possess other God Spirits' blessings? Zhou had a guess. He thought for a moment and guessed that he became right. This became because when he was looking at the Lord Talent list of the Star Alliance Masters, he had indeed seen some Lord Talents that were blessed by God spirits. However, most of their grades were Black Iron tier, Green Bronze tier, and White Silver tier. They did not even have the Yellow Gold tier Lord Talent. In addition, their talent effects were very ordinary, so Zhou subconsciously ignored them. Only today, when he noticed this mythical tier unique Lord Talent, did he remember. Zhou did not hesitate. Just as he became about to leave the Reincarnation Sacred Palace to recruit new soldiers, Nadia arrived up and told he a piece of news. The Blood Moon Sun became back. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.